Hello. Hi there. Hello. Welcome to Jason Arnopp's terrifying video shop of obsession. Yeah, I had such a great time last Friday chatting to people on a live stream I did basically this time last week that I kind of wanted to do it again immediately. And why not on Friday night again? Where is the harm? It's not as if you're all out, is it, really? Let's be honest. Most of us are in, we're in lockdown, and so it's a good time to have a chat about retro things. And I'm experimenting this time by giving this a theme, kind of an overarching theme, but I'm sure we will talk about other stuff as well. And of course, that theme, as you can probably see from the title of this thing, is Video Store Memories. And yes, it's Video Store Memories, but we'll talk about all the stuff that's usually associated with this channel, which is classic Doctor Who, retro video games, fantasy game books, if you're up for a bit of that, and of course, 80s thrash metal. We have to talk about 80s thrash metal. Never mind the fact that I've yet to do a video on 80s thrash metal, although I am working on one, and one is coming soon for thrash fans, so don't worry about that. Now, there's one rule here in this video. You all have to have some form of drink. That includes you, mother, at home. Get the wine open. Just have a little bit. You know, where's the harm? It's Friday night. So I've got some wine. This video is not sponsored by Blossom Hill, but I'd like it to be. Yes. So I've got a bit of wine. I've got a lovely pint of gin. It's not really a pint of gin, obviously, and I've got some of this hand sanitizer as well. So that's lovely. Don't let me drink the hand sanitizer by mistake, for the love of God. Let's not let that happen. Although maybe if I run out of wine, I might have a sip of it. Paul Owens. Now you are asking a question that it's going to look like I paid you a tenner to ask. You're asking, where do you get those Jack Sparks t-shirts? Well, they're not actually available at the moment, but I think it might be nice to make them available, and so I'm thinking about that. So I'm assuming that you have an interest in this. It's wonderful artwork. Look at this. This is artwork by my friend Razel. Whoa, look out. They're coming to take my videos away. Let's close that up. Yes, artwork by my friend Razel, and it's alternative artwork from the cover of the book, which is this, by the way. Yes. That is my second novel, Ghoster, casually propped up there. It's 99p at the moment on ebook, by the way, Ghoster. So have a look down in the video description and click through and buy it on Kindle and then come back again at your leisure. You know, if you like that sort of thing, if you like a supernatural, thrillery, chillery type thing. It's about online dating and ghosts, as you might expect from the title. It's kind of a combination. Hello, Gardinia6. Thank you for saying hello to my mum. Hi, Jason's mum. Nice to see people pouring in. Let's say hello to a few people. Hello, Simon Mallinson. How you doing? JT Grooms, lovely. Aaron Hodgson, hello. He says he's got the pint of gin ready as well. That's marvelous. People are getting used to the gin-based protocol. Talky, hello Talky. How you doing? Nice use of the heavy metal horns emoji there. I think we know what you're into. Yes. Yes, Gardinia6 says Patreon folks would absolutely love a Sparks t-shirt. Yeah, I think that should happen, shouldn't it? Yeah, if anyone's getting a Sparks t-shirt first, it's my patrons at Patreon who support my channel on a monthly basis. And of course, it's incredible that they do that. You know, it's incredible that they do it in the first place, but then it's doubly incredible that they do it during this whole era when people don't have so much money. Speaking of which, inappropriately asking for money, I'm apparently obliged on YouTube to tell you that on this live chat thing, I have this thing called super chats, where people can just send me money for no apparent reason. Maybe think of it as like a late fee on a videotape. if you do decide to send me some money, but there's no obligation. And yes, people don't have disposable cash at the moment. Hey there, Jason. It's Bad Wolf Archives. Hello, how you doing there, Bad Wolf Archives? Floyd75 Dylan has a Pepsi Max because I can't drink alcohol and medication I'm on. Oh, I've had a nice vindaloo curry from the takeaway. Wow, that's nice. I had a nice stir fry, nice katsu curry stir fry from Asda. Oh yeah, you get all the exclusives in these live streams. See, I wouldn't normally say that sort of thing in a video. That's an exclusive just for the live stream. My stir fry preferences. You gotta love that. Aaron Hodson says, love Razel's artwork with Pandora. Yeah, Razel he's the creator of Pandora, which is the official comic strip of Kerrang magazine, and has been for, I wouldn't even like to say now, like the best part of 40 years or something. No, is that right? I don't even know anymore. Time's gone weird, not least because of the current crisis. Hello, Kay Allington, who happens to be my splendid cousin. Evening to you and all. Hello, Mad Fanta Max. Yes, I see who you are. Hello, sir. Dewey Rowlands says, I'm enjoying a lager as usual. Nothing wrong with that. Talkie's having a curry with a bottle of Bulmers by my side. Well, I hope it's open. Open it up. Hello, you fearless fox, says Mad Fanta Max. Okay. So before I came on here, about an hour before I came on, I asked people on Twitter, for their abiding and favorite memories of video shops. And to be honest, I kind of thought like I might get the odd reply, maybe like a handful. And at the last count, there's like, I don't know, I've got 20 plus notifications. And there's loads of these, loads of memories. It's crazy. But what I want here is to hear your main video store memories. As I said, we can talk about other stuff as well as the stream progresses, and feel free to ask a question about anything you might want to ask a question about on any topic. I might ignore it. It's possible. If I don't want to answer the question, I'll probably just ignore it. Although don't always assume that's the case. I might have missed it, because last time there was quite a lot of quotes, quite a lot of comments. I found it quite hard to keep up with, which is great. Oh, Talkie's opened the Bulmers and half of it went on the desk. Oh dear. Floyd75 Dylan says, if you set up a PayPal account for your viewers, then you will get the full amount, unlike Super Chat, where Google take a percentage. Yeah, that's true. Google do take a percentage of Super Chats, but maybe something to think of. Yeah, that's a good point. But anyway, Super Chats are not expected on this stream because, YouTube's free, isn't it? And eventually this video will be archived, and every time someone watches it, there will be adverts on it. So, there are other ways to support YouTube creators and writers without spending money. As I say on my Patreon page, it's amazing if you want to make a monthly pledge, but you can also tell someone about one of my books you liked, such as Ghoster, 99p on Kindle, or, there's lots of ways to do it. You can follow me on Twitter. That's support. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Oh, and speaking of which, my YouTube channel, was that today or yesterday? Time is blurring. Yesterday, yes, my YouTube channel, this YouTube channel, reached 2,000 subscribers. So if you are one of them, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's pretty heroic of you. Yeah, 2,000 is great. It took me a year to get to 1,000. And so it's nice to take then like just over 4 months to get to 2,000. Hopefully that's a good sign. And hopefully people will keep subscribing. Do subscribe now if you're watching this and you haven't. How do you like this RoboCop? Can anyone tell me which RoboCop movie this video shop standee is for? Oh, thanks, lovely people, congratulating me on the 2K subscribers. Lovely. Let's see. Someone said RoboCop 3. Someone saying RoboCop 2. Talkie reckons 3. JT Grooms reckons RoboCop 2. Oh, Geigerpunk is quite definite about this. He says he doesn't just say it's 3. He says it's 3 with asterisks around the 3. Then he says not Peter Weller, and with a sad face. God, I hadn't quite. Well, I must have known this at one point, but I think I'd forgotten that information. Does RoboCop 3 not have Peter Weller in it? Crikey. Yeah, no wonder some people hold it in low regard. I think RoboCop 3 was also the time when it became less kind of adult and a bit more and less violent, didn't it? Because maybe they were trying to ease the franchise towards a more mainstream appeal, which is no good when the first film in the franchise is hyper violent. It's just weird. It is RoboCop 3, by the way. Hey, look at that. Now, can I get it to stand up again? That's the question. I might regret doing that. Yeah, I knew I'd regret that. Just talk amongst yourselves. There we go. Floyd says, I unfortunately went to see that film at the cinema. Oh, Robert Burke was the star of Robert 3. Yeah, when Robert Burke became the star of the third RoboCop movie, he insisted that the film be called Robert Cop 3. Yeah. Oh, Phil Stark. Hello, Phil. He says that Peter Weller did Naked Lunch instead. Good man. Yes. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Jesus, says Geigerpunk, it is big. Yeah, you're not the first person to say that to me about that standee. Ho, 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 ho. I usually have a candle. Last week I had a candle there, but that's because I started at 9:45 p.m. So there's actually no need to light the candle. Yeah, I think the picture quality is better this time as well because I changed the settings on the camera. So every day a little wiser. So what do you remember about video shops? Let me have a look through here. I've seen a few people. By the way, I've got some videos down here to show you. Quick exciting flash for horror fans there, and especially fans of Italian horror. And I've got a handful of video shop posters to show you as well. So I think together it would be really nice if we can create the atmosphere and the memory of an 80s, especially 80s, I think, video shop. If we can all contribute details that come together, we might actually believe that just for an hour we're in a 1980s video shop. So what do you remember? What were your favorite bits of the 80s video shop? Selt 80 says, I remember getting Gremlins from the video shop. Nice. Yeah, when I think about it, I can remember when Gremlins was a brand new movie. And brand new movies in my day meant that those films, the brand new films, were usually, I think they were like £2, weren't they? A new film was £2. A slightly less new film was £1.50, and then the films that they couldn't rent out for love nor money were 50p. Bad Wolf Archives. We were talking about the Testament album last weekend, weren't we? Last Friday. Jason, I listened to the Testament's Titans of Creation album over the weekend. Killer album. It is pretty killer, isn't it? Yeah. I'm glad you liked it. Did you like Curse of Osiris? We were talking about that track. Right. Floyd says, I cannot believe that the very first Friday the 13th film is 40 years old. I feel completely old. Wow. God, the very first Friday the 13th film is 40 years old. I might have, that could be quite a nice segue actually, because swiping the dust off of it, swiping the sands of time away from this beauty. Look at that. Now, that you probably don't, if you're not a Friday the 13th fan, you won't know which installment in the franchise it is, but it is, of course, the fourth installment. And even though it claimed to be the final chapter, it really wasn't. That was a terrible lie. Although maybe they believed it at the time, if we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. And I really like this film. This is one of the best Fridays, I think. It's great. It's really gory. It's got Tom Savini special effects on it. Have you noticed that? I'm not too keen on that. I might have to switch the box over. Look at that. Oh dear. That's disappointing. I do like videos to be in good condition, although I also kind of have a soft spot for videotapes that look like they're being through the wars as well. Look, there's the back of that. You can see the pictures on there. Lovely. Yeah, it's really violent. It's also got, let me make sure I get the name right. It's got Crispin Glover in it. Yeah. And it's Corey Feldman playing Tommy Jarvis, right? A very young Corey Feldman. Yeah. Tell me if I've got that wrong. For some reason, I seem to have a bit of a mental block about that. Yes. So there's one Friday the 13th. And while we're on the subject, since this is the weekend of Friday the 13th, God, there's a lot of dust on top of this one. Let me also show you part 7, subtitled, as you can see, The New Blood. And I don't know, I think probably a fair few people like this, but I really like it. It's one of my favorites. You know, it's great. It's basically Karen. It's Jason versus Carrie, basically, because Jason comes up against Tina Shepherd, who is he's got telekinetic powers, and so she and Jason have the most fantastic battle at the end of the film, with him, you know, using his machete and Bruce Force. I've only had a sip of wine. Brute Force versus Tina making things fly about the place and knock Jason off of balconies and things like that. It's a great film. It was cut, unfortunately. John Buechler directed this. He's also a special effects guy. There's the back of that. Look at that, eh? Marvelous. What do you think of these movies? How do you rate either of these? If you're a Friday the 13th fan, let me know. Okay, so let's see here. I'm a big fan of the original The Evil Dead, says JLB Zombie. Hello, JLB. I saw your video collection, which was amazing. How did you first see the movie? That's a good question. So when you say you saw my video collection, yeah, I did do a previous movie. I don't know what's wrong with me this evening. I swear that isn't gin. I did do a previous YouTube video about my Evil Dead collection, all the videos of the Evil Dead that I've got. And yeah, I've got quite a few. I've got like some, you can see some of them back there, actually. I don't know if you can make out too many of the spines, but that's the whole Evil Dead. Those are Evil Dead shelves there. And say hello to the Cyberman as well, from TV's Doctor Who, while we're at it. Feel free to ask questions about Doctor Who, by the way, even though the main thrust of this live stream session is video store memories. I felt a little bit like Alan Partridge there when I said that. I'm not sure why. How did I first see the movie, JLB Zombie? That's a really good question. And I think the truth might be that I first saw it as a bootleg. Yeah, I think I might have seen a VHS bootleg of The Evil Dead, pretty bad quality, which only made the gore and the special effects more sinister and nasty looking, in fact. Yeah, I love The Evil Dead. I mean, The Evil Dead is my joint favorite horror movie with John Carpenter's The Thing. So yeah, I had to kind of make them joint favorites because they're different types of movie. Like, I could watch John Carpenter's The Thing quite very happily every 2 years, whereas I'd be, on the other hand, I'd be happy to watch The Evil Dead I could probably watch The Evil Dead every 2 weeks if someone really insisted, and still enjoy it, you know. So they're different movies, aren't they? The Evil Dead is, I mean, it has slow burn moments. The first half hour are quite slow burn, but The Evil Dead is more of a mad, continuous funhouse ride after the first 20 minutes, half an hour, whereas John Carpenter's The Thing is one big slow burn that blows up in your face every 15, 20 minutes, you know, and it probably takes about 45 minutes. Don't know, maybe 30 actually. The dog pen scene is probably the first thing, isn't it, that kicks off. Thanks for asking that, JLB. Always love a question about the Evil Dead. Any more questions about the Evil Dead? Always happy to answer them. Now then, let's see. Sathi Slade. Hello, Sathi Slade. Have you ever seen or heard of the Nosy Bonk? Yes, I have. Yeah, he's kind of like a character with a great big nose, but I can't remember where the Nosy Bonk is from. Can anyone else remember the Nosy Bonk? Aaron says, me and my dad would always rent horror films from Blockbusters when I was around 13 years old, which has continued my love of the horror genre ever since. That's really cool, isn't it? That's really cool having a dad who's up for renting horror movies from the video shop. Yeah, that's a nice horror apprenticeship, if you will. Yes, loving that. Yeah, I mean, oh god, the video shops for me were just an absolute palace of mystery and intrigue and excitement, and there was just always so much stuff to look at there. You know, just looking at the blurb on the boxes and the artwork, and oh my god, it was incredible, wasn't it? And there's so many things to talk about. I mean, I kind of been reminded about a lot of stuff in the Twitter feed when I asked people on Twitter what their favorite video store memories might be, and people remembered things like the carpets. How would you describe a typical carpet in a video store back in the day? Get down into that live chat and remind me. And let's talk about the smells of video shops. How did video shops smell around your way? Usually tobacco was involved, wasn't it? Yeah, tobacco. And funnily enough, one of the video shops that we used to go to was also a fishing tackle store. So there might have been a sort of a strange fishing tackle type smell. And that's the wonderful nature of the 80s video shop. You know, the video industry created a whole kind of boom, a cottage industry boom of anyone, especially anyone who had a shop and wanted to branch. If they had a shop already and they wanted to branch out into renting videos to people, then they could. I don't think they had to apply for a certain license. And that kind of Wild West nature of the video rental store era was kind of what gave rise to the whole video nasty thing, because the government and the British Board of Film Censorship kind of saw this unregulated area. Imagine that, an unregulated area. And that's probably a whole live stream in itself, the video nasties thing. But basically, they banned a load of stuff and actually got the police to go in and take things off shelves. Yes, the video nasties time was, I mean, it's kind of funny looking back, but at the same time, there was a guy called David Hamilton Grant who distributed a movie called Nightmares in a Damaged Brain, and he went to prison for 1 year for distributing a horror film, not a snuff movie, but a horror film. That's just sick. That's unbelievable. You know, that guy lost a year of his life because someone in a suit decided that this film was obscene. I mean, it's quite nasty, but you know, it's uncut in this country now, I'm pretty sure. Like most of the video nasties are. Okay, I could go on about video nasties. Can you tell? Can you tell? Simon Mallinson has selected a video store memory. Trying to hire a video, but being told none in stock. Yeah. Yeah. And that, you've raised a very interesting point about the video shop. The video rental era, there's kind of like, there's a pro and a con, I think, because unlike today's digital streaming platforms, in which we can go along there and they say, yes, you can rent this out for 48 hours. You know, Amazon Prime and Netflix are never going to say, sorry, we've run out of copies of John Wick. They always have one for you, always have one. Obviously not that Netflix is renting things out, but I suppose they kind of are. if we stop paying $5.99 or whatever it is per month, then we don't get to see the films anymore. It's just a slightly different model, isn't it? So in terms of what that was like in a video shop, I think in a way that kind of added to the excitement of going to a video shop, didn't it? Because you had that kind of that frisson. I don't know if I've ever used the word frisson before in conversations. I felt like that was quite successful. It was all right. I think I got away with it. Might have made too big a deal of it now, perhaps. But there was the excitement / fear of not being sure if the film you really wanted was going to be in the shop, because you might go up to the shelves wanting to hire out Teen Wolf, only to see the dreaded tag. Yes, look at that. How long has it been since you've seen one of these, and how does it make you feel? Do you feel like a sort of a muscle memory sense of bitter disappointment when you see this tag? It's nice to see that, isn't it? And I remember when Teen Wolf came out, and it was a proper brand new huge movie. Yeah, actually this one might have been £2.50. I remember that newer films, this will probably be sort of in the mid to late 80s. Films started to creep up in price a bit, and so this might have been £2.50. And while we're looking at Teen Wolf, for Teen Wolf fans, let's have a look on the back there. Lovely. You know, even though I chose this to go in the video thumbnail for this live stream, I'm not sure if I've actually watched Teen Wolf. Never seemed like my kind of film, really. I've never been. I mean, if I'm watching comedy, then I tend to like. Look at that, actual videotape of Teen Wolf. Yeah, if I'm watching comedy, I tend to want it to be on TV. I feel like comedy's strengths, or suit the TV platform. Might be wrong. Sorry, it's out on loan. You can't have it. So was that a good thing? I mean, generally, I suppose it was a bad thing, wasn't it, that each shop only had so many copies of each film, and usually they had one copy of most films, didn't they? And then the more popular they thought a film was going to be, the more copies of the film they got in. So what do you think of that? Any memories of really dying to see a film and you just couldn't rent it for like weeks because people kept hiring it out? Did you camp out in the video shop and wait for a film to be ready to come back so you could rent it out? If so, what was that film? Paul Owens. Hello, Paul. Paul Owens is remembering the under-the-counter videos. Well, yes, I wonder what type of videos they were. Well, actually, I suppose back in the day, they could have been pretty much any type of film. They could have either been films of an adult variety, or they could have been films that weren't necessarily first-generation copies, Paul. I wonder which you were enjoying at the time. Gardenia 6 says, yes, Gardenia 6 remembers the amazing covers, all facing outward. Picking a movie just on the grisly covers or metal artwork. Metal artwork. Now, when you say metal artwork, do you mean it was heavy metal artwork in attitude, or do you mean it was kind of because I've got a few tapes that have like is it lithographic? But they're shiny covers, aren't they? And do you remember the Wraith? Someone on Twitter was talking about the Wraith. And yeah, the Wraith was pretty special. Actually, let me get that. Oh. Did you notice that RoboCop lunged towards you then, trying to arrest you? At least I found a Wraith, so the visit hasn't been completely wasted. Look at that. See, that's quite a shiny cover by anyone's standards. I can't remember who it was on Twitter who said that they rented this on the strength of this cover and ended up quite disappointed. This is, of course, an action film starring Charlie Sheen. Nice. And I think it's quite good, actually. It's on one of my favorite video labels, Medusa Home Video. Medusa had a really good brand. I mean, they did have quite a variety of stuff on their roster, but mostly they specialized in action movies, and you know, partly kind of post-apocalyptic movies or movies that had that kind of imagery, like this one. Lots of sort of vigilante movies, lots of men with shotguns on their covers, avenging the deaths of their families. Gardenia6 asks a heavy metal question, and that question is Alex Skolnick still in Testament? Yes, Alex Skolnick is still in Testament. I can confirm this because I saw them, as I said last Friday, at the I saw them in London on March the 6th, and Alex Skolnick was indeed on the stage shredding his fretboard. I mean, obviously, I suppose he could have left Testament since, but I doubt it. He's on Twitter, by the way. You could have a look and check on him. Haha. Gardenia6 also says about video shops, the amazing covers all facing outwards. Picking a movie just... Oh, no. I've read that one, haven't I? Yeah. Picking a movie just on the grisly covers or metal artwork. That's what set me off to find the Wraith. Yes. Talkey says, new film you could only rent for an afternoon at the first place we joined. They were more expensive. Wow. A film you could only rent for an afternoon. How did that work? You could only rent it for an afternoon. What, you then had to bring it back by the evening? How did that work? So those films are more expensive, says Talkey. Case in point, Ghostbusters. Back that afternoon, and then we got Gremlins overnight. You see, this is what makes video shops so much fun to talk about, as they were back in the day, because they, like I said, they're all run by individuals mostly. There weren't really any chains, I don't think. Maybe the odd one formed, but you know, these shops weren't the same. They didn't have the same. They didn't have to adhere to the same structure as Blockbuster's store. They all had their own rules. You know, they could. Some bloke could decide that he was so annoyed with people not rewinding tapes when they brought them back that he could charge them like 50p or a quid or something if they didn't. I'm sure that was popular. Oh, yeah, Paul Owens also remembers spending ages picking up a video and then going up to the counter to find it was already gone. Yeah, see, that's another thing, isn't it? Like the manual human nature of video shops and the people who worked in them. You know, just because someone had hired out the tape, there would be a gap between, you know, the tape going out and the video shop person going to put the on loan tab on the video box on the shelf. So just because there wasn't one, just because there wasn't a tag there, that, you know, that didn't mean that that it was there to be rented. Here's another of these tags, by the way, which is less of a dreaded tag. You might remember seeing this. Actually, I don't remember seeing this tag from back in the day, top 50. Maybe I do. It doesn't quite sort of give me the nostalgic buzz that I get when I see the on loan tag. Do you remember the top 50 tag? Has this, you know, has this blown your skirts up? Has it? Tell me about that. Right, sorry, I need to catch up. Wow, yeah, there's a few comments to catch up with here. You're doing great, guys. Thank you very much. I do like a lot of comments. The live chat aspect of these videos is so much fun. I don't know if I'd do it if it could only just be me sitting here talking. That'd be like giving a speech by yourself, wouldn't it? It'd be, you know, you couldn't get any questions from anyone or any input or any stories like you guys have. So it's really nice to do this. Floyd 75 Dylan remembers buying a brand new film that's only come out on rental back in the 80s. It would cost around 60 quid. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes I think I'd like to go back in time to like scoop all the old videos up, but actually they're probably more expensive than they are now, costing about 60 quid. Or sometimes I can remember videos advertised in magazines that cost like 70 quid or something, 79.99. I think I can remember. Mark Patterson, glad you could join us, sir. Sorry I'm late, says Mark. I'm here now, though, drinking a cheeky little lager called Piston Head. Lovely. That's nice. That sounds like the kind of beer that comes in a cheeky little can, is it? I quite like those beers. Yeah. I signed up for this thing called Beer 52. Is anyone else with Beer 52? I'll add a link to the video description down below, so you can check that out, because you get like your first crate of beers, these sort of little craft beer cans, for a pretty good price. I got mine for like £7 for like 10 beers or something. And then you pay more if you continue to subscribe, but it's worth having a look. Paul Owens says to me, what's your holy grail of VHS that you're still questing for? Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, what is that? There's a movie called Flesh Eaters, not zombie flesh eaters, but Flesh Eaters. And I only have it. I'm not sure where it is at the moment. I don't know why it's not on display. But yeah, it's called Flesh Eaters, not zombie flesh eaters. And I have a copied cover, a nice copy, but I know it's a copy nonetheless. And so it kind of gnaws at me. I do have a tape, although it doesn't play very well. Talk amongst yourselves. Now I could spend ages searching for that. That would not be a good use of time. But yeah, Flesh Eaters, and let me see. There is something else, and I can't. But basically, I do kind of have all the videos I want, which is just as well, because I can't afford any anymore, especially not now. So it's quite good that I don't have a great big list of things. There's maybe the odd thing, but there's nothing like a grail, you know, something that I've been chasing for ages. I mean, my favorite video that I have pretty much is one that I wanted for ages. And it's this. Yeah, I was after this for quite some time. It's a shame it doesn't seem to be, the yellow is more vibrant in reality, although you can see it probably better on the back. I don't know what it is about this cover, because it's so minimalist, but I love the writing. I love the title. Tomb of the Undead is a great title for a movie. This film, by the way, was also known as Grave of the Undead and Garden of the Dead. And I don't know what it is about that. That's just really cool. And I like this tagline, death was the only living thing. I've got no idea what that means, but it's really cool. Yeah. It's a great film. Well, actually, it's not really a great film, but I love it. I love it as a piece of three-dimensional art. It's got a nice tangerine colored label. In case you're wondering what these are not dubious sachets. These are packets of silica gel that you, if you put them in with a videotape, and you want to put a few in with a tape like this, because it's quite rare, this tape. There's only 2 of these known to exist in the world at the moment. You put them in there, and there's less likelihood that the tape will develop the dreaded white mold that videotapes can get. That's like the scourge of VHS collectors, the white mold. It's a nightmare because it messes up the tape completely and you can't play it. No. Aaron says, Jason, you mentioned Tom Savini, so tell me, who is your favorite visual special effects artist? Well, to be honest, I think Tom Savini takes some beating. Tom Savini's great. And now, who did the special effects on The Thing? Was that Rob? That was Rob Bottin. Rob Bottin, right? Am I misremembering that? Let me know if I am. Yeah, I mean, Rob, who did the effects on John Carpenter's The Thing, those are incredible. And of course, it won't surprise you to hear that I favor physical special effects over CGI effects that we get these days. Yeah, so I think Tom Savini and Rob Bottin. I'm pretty sure he pronounces it like that, because I think I've seen an interview with him where he mentions his own name for some reason. Floyd says about the end of Friday the 13th Part 4, Corey Feldman looks like a mini Billy Corgan out of the Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah, because Corey's character Tommy shaves all his hair off, doesn't he? And he ends up looking like the Smashing Pumpkins frontman. Now let's see. Nice memory from Gardenia 6. My boyfriend, as a teen, his mother worked at a video rental place. We used to get to watch movies that were still in the theater in their living room, before streaming and e-piracy. Good times. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's a question I was going to ask, actually. I'd like anyone else to tell me if I think most people did at some point of their lives. Did you ever know someone who worked at a video store? And if so, what kind of special favors and privileges did you get from that relationship? Geigerpunk says, I have an ex-rental of Predator with a price sticker of $89.95. Wow. I was technically underage at the time, so I couldn't buy it in WH Smith for the full price, but that ex-rental cost me £8 and no questions asked. Brilliant. Oh, God, it blew my mind when my local video shop, Witten Video in Lowestoft in Suffolk, started selling ex-rental tapes. In fact, all the video stores did. They either sold tapes that had been rented out a lot or had sort of gone out of fashion, or maybe they'd worn down a bit, because one of the tapes I bought, a Chuck Norris film, the quality wasn't great. In fact, there's lots of white lines on it and stuff. But I couldn't believe that you could buy a film and have a film and own it. It just seems so bizarre to me. One of the first films I got given by my fantastic parents was this Chuck Norris Invasion USA, which is still one of my favorite action films. I love this film, and this is an amazing cover. Love that cover. I'd love to have a standee of this. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But I got this for Christmas, and I literally couldn't believe that I actually owned this now. It was so bizarre. Yeah. Now how I mentioned Witten Video. There you go. You see, things like that, editions like that, shop labels. I think some collectors like the tapes to be completely as they were when they were produced. Whereas for me, this kind of thing kind of makes this a unique item. And so it kind of just, captures a part of history, doesn't it? I bet a lot of us would like to find like stuff that's branded by our favorite video shop from yesteryear, like an old membership card or a leaflet or something like that. That would probably give us quite the nostalgic buzz, wouldn't it? Now then, let's have a look here. What's going on in comments? I've been working my word. Dewey Rowlands is talking about Doctor Who. Let's talk about Doctor Who for a moment. I've been working my way through my season 14 box set. Yeah, this is the latest Doctor Who, the collection Blu-ray box set for season 14. Loved The Hand of Fear in particular. Wow, yeah. And the documentary on Liz Sladen was very emotional, but a lovely insight into her life and career. Yeah, I'm now halfway through that documentary, and I'm loving it. I'm sort of savoring it, really. I'm kind of watching it bit by bit every time I have like lunch or dinner or something. Yeah, it's great. Chris Chapman has done an amazing job once again. The director who worked on brought us the John Nathan Turner documentary, not directory. Ridiculous. God, there's a lot of sirens out tonight. Okay. Yeah, Dewey, did you say that there were quite a few serials in this box set that you haven't actually seen before? So did you just watch The Hand of Fear for the first time, for instance? Incredible. That would be quite an experience. Geigerpunk says, do you think Cybermen would be a bit narked to be introduced as from TV's Doctor Who, if they had emotions and could get narked, obviously? You've answered your own question, didn't you? They've got no emotions in it. Simon Mallinson on John Carpenter's The Thing. I wouldn't stroke the dog for a week after first watching that. Imagine that. Dogs around the world going unstroked because of Rob Bottin's creations. Bogeymen Productions says, hello, Bogeymen Productions says, hey, I've heard of Evil Dead. Is it good? Now, I'm pretty sure I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Bogeyman Productions happens to be a man who has the finest Evil Dead collection in the world, I believe. So he's being ironic. He's definitely heard of Evil Dead, and he owns everything in the world to do with it, and his collection is incredible. Hello, Michael. Yes. Lena Petrissa says, what are your 5 rarest pre-cert videos? It's probably worth defining pre-cert for anyone who doesn't know. Pre-cert is a term that collectors use and people in the know about the video era use. It means pre-certificate. So videos like this have certificates because they were released after like 1984/1985. Whereas videos like this do not have certificates because they were released, I don't know when this came out, like 1982 or 1983, before certificates came along. And that's kind of why pre-certificate tapes are lovely, because they belong to that Wild West era before people started slapping certificates on and censoring a load of stuff and banning a load of stuff like a bunch of jackasses. So yeah, and look at that, by the way, what a beautiful thing that is. Talking about reading the blurb in video shops, this one in particular was just horrifying to me. I wasn't even sure, I don't know how old I was, but I wasn't even sure if I ever even wanted to see this because it sounded horrendous. Let me read the story outline from the back of The Hills Have Eyes. All right. The Carter family are crossing the desert wastes of America, heading for California, when they are attacked by a group of savage cannibals. Mr. Carter is crucified, filled with petrol, and set on fire. That is such a matter-of-fact description, isn't it? Mrs. Carter, this is spoilers for the film, by the way. You might want to put your fingers in your ears for a while, because this was the era where they just basically told you everything that happens in the film on the back. Mrs. Carter is shot in the stomach and left for dead. Her daughter is sexually assaulted, should we say, and her baby taken for the savages' food pot. For the rest of the Carter family, a baby taken for the savages' food pot. Although savages does not have an apostrophe, that's a bit disturbing as well. For the rest of the Carter family, it's now a battle of survival. With the aid of their Alsatian dogs, the Carter family start to turn the tables, and reverting to their own primitive instincts, they start to wipe out the cannibal punks. The lucky ones die first. That's a brutal bit of blurb, that really is. Yeah. Pictures look nasty as well. Very nasty. Yeah, and The Hills Have Eyes is a nasty film. The remake is one of the best horror remakes, I think. Don't know if you've seen that. People are referring to Nosy Bonk and responding to my question about what Nosy Bonk was on. Nosy Bonk was on a kids show called Jigsaw. And Talkie adds, and now my dreams tonight will be disturbed at the sheer mention of his name. Oh dear. Yeah, the character Nosy Bonk was indeed the thing of nightmares, as JLB Zombie points out. Gardenia 6 points out that John Carpenter does amazing scores for his films. Speaking of which, that's just reminded me of something. There was on one of the video releases, maybe the first ever video release in the UK of The Thing. On the back of it, it said home video version, some music rescored. And I've never actually investigated to see how much of a difference there is in the music. Some music rescored. Can anyone shed any light on that? This will probably be the kind of thing where someone pops up in the comments on this archived version of this video in about a year and tells me all about it. That's the joy of YouTube. Nothing goes away. Barney Hall. Hello, Barney. How you doing? You made it. You missed last week's because YouTube didn't tell you about it, but you're here this time. Let's see. Was there a previous? Yes. This is nice. This is as David Brent would say, this comment is one of these because it combines video stores with Doctor Who. My earliest video store memory is getting the 5 Doctors and King's Demons box set with the postcards from MVC in brackets Music Video Club, and being confused why it had 2 prices on it. Oh. only to be told if Mum signed up for the club card, we got it a couple of quid cheaper, which for my 20 quid birthday money made a big difference. Nice. That's a lovely, lovely detail, isn't it? You don't get like 2 price tags stuck on a Netflix video, do you? Talkie tells me, gives me an opinion on the video store's carpets. Dusty and often stained. Yes, that sounds familiar. But I mean, they always had carpets, didn't they? I think there was something about that. Maybe it was sort of, it created the sense that we were in someone's living room, like rifling through their video collection or something. It was kind of homely. Lena says calor gas. Now, I'm assuming that is an answer to my question about the smell of video shops. Is it smells of calor gas? Because maybe some of them were kind of heated by one of those portable heater things. Michael, aka Bogeymen Productions, says my local video store I first rented Evil Dead from is now a beauty salon. Oh, yeah, it's quite sad, isn't it? Going back to the spots where your old video shops were, and you know, you kind of want them to come back, don't you? You want them to spring up from back along the time stream. But sadly, having said that, I've got a video in production. I think I mentioned this last week. I need to get it going. I made a video about a video store in my hometown that's still open in 2020, albeit, I mean, it's not open now, right now, obviously, but it will be again, hopefully, when there's 0 passes. I hope so. But that place isn't renting out video, sadly, but it is renting out DVDs and Blu-ray, so you still get the experience, and they've still got, you know, the on loan. They've got on loan tabs and all sorts, because they used to be a video store back in the day. Barney says Blockbusters smelled glorious, very clean, almost like a car sales room, like that new car smell. Yeah, I mean, it's been long enough now. I mean, I don't love Blockbusters, I suppose. It's hard for, mainly because, as I understand it, they caused a load of video shops to close down, a load of indie video shops, Blockbusters, only to then be closed down themselves by Netflix and the like. But you know, there is, now that time has passed, there is a certain nostalgia to Blockbusters in itself, isn't there? Just the experience of going into one of these sort of, as Barney says, squeaky clean and sort of bright places that has a nice smell of like plastic, and you know. Aaron says John Carpenter's scores are eerily fascinating. His live concert is unbelievable. Absolutely. Oh yeah. I went to see John Carpenter live in London. I'm very glad I did. That was really good. Mark Patterson says, I remember the corner shop where my nan lived rented videos. Yeah, there were so many corner shops that just probably, they might have started off with like 5 videos or 10 videotapes for people to rent out, and then maybe expanded because they're only a corner shop to like 20 or 30 or something at most. Mark goes on to say, I think that must be how I saw Nightmare on Elm Street, as my uncle used to rent from there. Yeah, see, that's another factor. I mean, this still goes on today with Netflix. In fact, probably horror films are probably even more accessible than they used to be. But, you know, one nice thing about the video shops is that, again, they're all individual, but most of them were perfectly happy. I haven't got any incense on. What the hell is going on? Why didn't you remind me? What an outrage. Yeah, most video shops were quite happy to rent out horror movies and probably, you know, more adult movies to kids. Probably not so much the adult stuff, but I think most video shop owners thought, you know, where's the harm in a kid watching The Hills Have Eyes? Where is the harm indeed? They might grow up like me and start writing novels like The Last Days of Jack Sparks and Ghoster. 99p on Kindle at the moment. Link in video description. There's also, if you'd like to join my Patreon and support this channel with a monthly pledge, and you inexplicably have disposable cash, then you'll find the Patreon link in my description. Thanks to any patrons who are watching, by the way. You're all fantastic. Gardenia 6. My favorite video store has been a hubcap place for years. Terrible. Yeah, but you know, times do move on. Times do move on. Can't believe I'm saying that quite so casually, but sometimes when things move on, you know, you have to go with it. And I think it's kind of important. I've kind of touched on this possibly in a video I made about why we love retro. I'll put a card up there on the archived version, because not many people, comparatively speaking, watched that. But basically, it was me giving 5 reasons why we love retro. And I think at some point in that video, I might have mentioned that it's important, I think, to kind of have one foot in the present and one foot in the past. You know, it's good to be excited about stuff that's going on now. I think if our minds end up dwelling on the past entirely, then, you know, well, apart from anything else, you know, nothing new ever happens, does it? Let's have a look here. Mad Phantomax remembers the huge space between video films on the shelf that looked like a load of rubbish. They tried to make everyone look really important. Yeah. Marvelous. Floyd says, I love the horror artwork on VHS because they were amazing and each horror artwork was unique, all done by hand and not on a computer. Yeah, I mean, let's take a moment to appreciate a bit of artwork, shall we? Yeah, this is one of my favorite video covers, and I like the film, actually. I really like the film, and it's got Michael Berryman in it from The Hills Have Eyes, and it's on the Medusa label. Can any video aficionados guess what this is going to be? It's Cut and Run on the Medusa label. Look at that for artwork. Yeah. See, I must admit, I don't really understand why. I'm sure there's a reason, but there must be a reason why the industry, you know, DVD and Blu-ray industries have generally moved away from actual artwork and moved to sort of graphic designy, photograph-based artwork that is very rarely going to persuade you to watch a film all by itself. Whereas this, look at that. Yeah, that's kinetic, isn't it? It's action-packed. There's an exploding helicopter there. There's a young lady tied to some wooden poles, and there's some people with some guns, and one of them's filming it. This film, by the way, is made by Ruggero Deodato, who made Cannibal Holocaust and other stuff. Oh, one of my favorite films, The Atlantis Interceptors, aka Raiders of Atlantis. Let me show you that, because that's a nice bit of artwork in itself. And sadly, it's out on loan, but you can't have everything. So sadly, none of you can rent this off me with a super chat. I simply forbid it. Look at that. There's Christopher Connolly there with a. See, this is basically an archetypal 80s video cover, isn't it? Rambo style sleeve with a bandana, guy with a bandana and a gun that looks like it's the size of like 10 elephants' trunks stuck together. That was a bit of an odd simile, wasn't it? A bit odd. Yeah. Love these films. I recommend both of these. Yeah, the Atlantis Interceptors is one of my favorite films, genuinely. It's like a kind of a post-apocalyptic film, but not really. It's not really set after an apocalypse. It's in this film, the city of Atlantis rises up in this kind of globe, this glass globe, and the inhabitants of Atlantis happen to be these people here who are kind of Mad Max style mutants who just want to murder and pillage everything. It's very violent, and it's got a great score. It's just fantastic. Yeah, so yeah, horror artwork, you know, VHS artwork full stop used to be amazing, and it still is. And do we have any? I'd genuinely like to hear if anyone has a reason they think why artwork of films like on Blu-rays and stuff today has moved away from the artwork of yesteryear. I seem to be enjoying using this word yesteryear. You don't get to say it very often, do you? Not in usual conversation. Barney says, sorry to keep bringing up Doctor Who. No, I want anyone to ask questions about Doctor Who or any Doctor Who memories or retro video games or thrash metal, because the way I see it, all these live stream chats are just kind of general retro chats, but it's quite nice to have a theme, isn't it? It's quite nice to have a hook to hang the chat on, so you've got like a main thrust of the conversation. Hopefully it works. Anyway, let me know what you think. Would you prefer it just to be a general retro chat? So I will do another one of these because I'm really liking them. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you there, Barney. I interrupted your comment while I was reading it. Sorry to keep bringing up Doctor Who, but I had to wait like 2 years to rent out Tomb of the Cybermen because it was constantly out of stock. See, that's interesting. That's something that I forget, that Doctor Who videos were rented out at one point. Yeah. Yeah, because as you point out, Barney, you were born, as you point out in an earlier comment, you were born in 1990. And so, yeah, I mean, video shops were open till about, I mean, video existed until about 2002, I think. So yeah, in the 90s, late 90s, I guess Doctor Who videos would have been rented out from Blockbuster as well. How did you get to see it in the end, Barney? Did you manage to get it? Gardenia 6 says, I preferred the rental places that just took the box off the shelf full stop if the film was out. Yeah, you know where you are with that, don't you? Like the film isn't there at all. Maybe they ran out of those tags, the on loan tags. Mark Patterson, the tag of doom. They also make good plectrums. I wonder if they do. I don't have a guitar in here. I don't know. I don't want to risk breaking the tag by trying to strum it on a guitar. Tempting though. Bad Wolf Archives, Happy Motorhead Day. Now, why is it Happy Motorhead Day? I might have forgotten something, have I? Geigerpunk says, where on earth do you get those on loan tabs? Exact same ones used at our local one. Yeah, I've only got a couple of them, and I'm trying to remember where I did get them. I think I got them off a fellow collector who had some, and I managed to prize like two out of him, and like and one of these. So I don't have many, but yeah, they're powerful, aren't they? They're amazing. They just really add to a video if you attach that. JT Grooms, who I think is in Ohio, are you, JT? We had a place called Front Row Video. It's now a nail salon / burrito shop. Now that's an interesting combination. So can you get your nails done while kind of being fed a burrito at the same time? And did they come up with a name that managed to cunningly combine burritos with nail manicuring? Yes. Hey, Nos, how you doing? You've given me a super chat. You are a splendid bloke. Thank you so much. Hey, Jason, hashtag physical media for life. Yeah, I love physical media. Yeah, I do. I really appreciate that super chat. Thank you, Nos. Yeah, physical media is great. I mean, I don't tend to rent things digitally. I think I would probably do that, though. It's nice to have the option. If it's a film that I probably don't think I'm going to want to keep, but I might want to watch. So it is an option. And I do have Netflix, and I also have Amazon Prime. And you know, I like these things, and I love YouTube as well. Yeah, I wonder if any YouTube creators have ever made their videos available on physical media, like a Blu-ray collection of all their like 1,000 videos over the course of 10 years or something. RZ says, nice t-shirt. Does it come in polka dot? Hold on, that's a bit suspicious. RZ, is that Razel? Is that Razel himself watching this? I think it might be. It's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it? A bloke with the initials RZ asking about a t-shirt designed by Razel, which I may well make available. Let me know if you'd like to buy one of these t-shirts, because if there's demand for them, I will certainly make them available. Talkey has a video shop memory. I remember reserving Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and going back for days until it had been returned. So, oh yeah, so how would that work? I've kind of forgotten about this aspect of it, reserving stuff. So did you say, like, what do you say to them? I mean, again, like we said, this was the Wild West. All the video shops were different. They all had different rules. They had whatever rules they decided were the right rules for them. So did you say, can you reserve this for me next time it comes back in, and like put it to one side? Oh, I see. So maybe you'd like reserved Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but whoever it was had rented it out for like 4 days or something, so you still had to wait for it to come back, yeah? Geiger Punk says the following: I remember Terminator 2 was a big event. Even though stores got lots of copies, you had to book in advance and were told what what night you'd be able to rent it. Wow. Yeah, I suppose video shops had to get more organized, didn't they? It must have been quite frustrating for video shops, because if they'd had like the kind of scale that Netflix has, they could have got rich, couldn't they? They were so limited by the number of tapes they could afford to buy and the number they could have on the shelves and in the shop, behind them on the shelves full of actual videotapes. Yeah, it must have been frustrating. And I suppose it must have been quite stressful for them trying to work out how many because as I understand it, all these places had to buy these tapes for like about 80 quid a lot of the time, or 50 or 60 quid, and then hope to make the money back through rentals. Barney says, I got lucky when I pulled out of school, as my sister had unexpectedly had a baby, and while my mum was away with her for a few days in hospital, my dad took me for a midweek Blockbusters trip. Brilliant. It's nice that you associate Blockbusters, and a lot of people just associate video shops with comfort, don't they? And just, yeah, I mean, video shops were a lovely cocoon as far as I'm concerned. You could spend ages in there looking at all the films and looking at the blurb and the pictures on the back and trying to form pictures in your head of what these films might be like, not like, what they might be like. Gardenia 6. I'm taking a while to get through these comments, aren't I? It's like Gardenia 6 says, yes, you did mean in terms of heavy metal attitude, in terms of video covers. Some of them I picked because they look like Man of War album covers. The Wraith is a great one. Yeah, a lot of there is a certain crossover, isn't there, between video covers and Man of War album covers. Whereas Talky points out, though, so many video covers led to disappointment. Yeah, can anyone remember being bewitched by the artwork of a video release and thinking, I've got to get this, and then you get it home and it's just something absolutely terrible? I must admit, I don't have too many memories of that sort of thing, like being really sorely disappointed by something. Maybe I was quite easy to please as a child or as a teenager. Yeah. Especially when it came to films like this. Who remembers this? Revenge of the Ninja. I love this film so much. Sho Kosugi is an absolute genius. Give you a little flash of the pictures on the back there. Lovely stuff. Ninjas and stuff, and lots of shuriken flying about. This is one of the very best ninja films, and it's available in the UK on Blu-ray, but I think it might not be available by itself. It might be part of the ninja set that I think Eureka Entertainment put out. Yeah, it's awesome. And so is the following film. Not really related, but this is there was kind of a loose ninja trilogy that Canon made, and this is one of the best things. Who remembers this? And what do you remember about it? This combines ninja movies with the supernatural. So for me, that's just incredible. This is the kind of film you might find on Amazon Prime, actually, so it's worth having a look. Actually, if you're not a member of Amazon Prime yet, I put a link down there in the video description for a 30-day free trial of Amazon Prime. And also, while I'm up, there's also a link to get a 30-day free trial of Arrow Video, which is the streaming video channel of Arrow Films Video, the people who make the really cool cult classic horror Blu-rays. And I did a video about their channel to check out whether it was worthwhile. And I think it generally is. There's a lot of stuff on there, but what is worth doing for sure is getting a free 30-day trial so you can watch all the movies on there you want. Anyway, that's down there in the video description. Ninja 3, The Domination, is just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I mean, look at that. Actually, I mean, the first 5 or 10 minutes of this movie are just unrelenting action. It's a proper Yeah, the first 10 minutes of this movie are what the word set piece was made for. It's a proper set piece for this ninja running riot on a golf course and being chased by the police, and then other stuff happens. Don't want to spoiler it for you, do I? Yeah, that's great. Look at that lovely gold seal on the side there. That's put on there by the distributor. Gotta love a bit of gold on your tapes, didn't you? Yeah. I love ninja films. Tell me if you like ninja films, and I'll show you a couple more. Now, the Lizard Monkey says Medusa, who were the company I mentioned earlier, showed you the Wraith and Cut and Run on Medusa. Medusa did Critters. Did they? I'm not sure if they did. I can't remember. I think that was a bit of a later release if they did. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Tony Cross. How you doing, sir? Tony says unto us, he says, there were two shops in our hometown. One was just videos. The other was a newsagent with a small selection of less salubrious titles, and didn't bother to check how old you were. Good times, eh, Tony? Eh? Eh? Simon Mallinson says, many sci-fi films were like that. Sounded good, but when you saw it, it totally bombed. Yeah, I bet. That's the thing, yeah, especially with a sci-fi film that on an indie level is unlikely to have a big budget. A sci-fi film could have artwork that just promised you the universe, and it turned out to be like, you know, two blokes with tinfoil hats on in a studio in California somewhere, if you're lucky. No. Oh, sorry, the comments jumped there. Wow. Wow, so many comments. You guys are great. Wow. I really need to catch up. Blimey. Right. Right, I'm back. JT Grooms remembers a movie called Robo Vampire. The main dude was a dead ringer for RoboCop. The Lizard Monkey remembers the best example of amazing cover, terrible film was The Unnameable. Yeah, I remember the cover of The Unnameable. It sort of had a kind of a photographic cover, didn't it, with like a demon. I never saw the film, so you didn't like that? Okay, fair enough. My Crazy Jane says my local electrical shop used to rent videos in the late early 80s, and I remember renting out Driller Killer. Now, Driller Killer is probably an example of a cover that kind of helped cause the whole video nasty thing, because on the cover is a bloke getting drilled in his forehead with blood all over his face, and he's screaming, and it's so powerful that I don't think I'd even show it in this stream. I wouldn't show it in a YouTube video because it's really graphic. And it probably, you know, it might get a video demonetized or something. We can't have that, can we? No, I can't have me doing myself out of the 12p I might earn from advertising. Race with the Devil has a cool poster. Yeah, I remember Race to the Devil, JT. Mark Patterson says, our local video shop used to photocopy the sleeves in blood red ink. What? How do you do that? How does that work? Geigerpunk says, our village had 3 video shops, 2 are now sandwich shops, and the third was the petrol station, so they're still going. They're still going? They charged for memberships while the others didn't, so we never joined them. Hold on, are you saying that somewhere near you there is a video shop that in a petrol station and it's still a video shop? Jesus. Right, I'm definitely coming to visit. That's the end of it. I used to manage a video shop in Wheelstone called Video Junction, says Lino/Lino. Not sure what the pronunciation is. We did great business until Extravision opened up the road. We couldn't compete. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it must have got pretty, because there was a cottage industry boom and a load of businesses sprung up. But of course, along with that came quite a lot of competition, didn't it? Talkie says, Some 80s Disney VHS copies can go for a lot of money these days. Yeah, I suppose they can. Yeah, Disney stuff in general does, doesn't it? Geigerpunk has noted the irony of what I said earlier about how the fact that I don't have flesh eaters gnaws at me. Flesh eaters gnawing at me. That you're right. That is ironic. Oh, Bogeymen Productions, aka Michael Witchy, says, "What's your fave Evil Dead VHS you have?" Oh, let's have a look. Well, I mean, I don't know. It'd be boring to say the UK one, wouldn't it? But I love the UK one because it's got that incredible, that incredible artwork. But I don't know. I haven't looked at them for a while, but I like this a lot. I think this is Korean. You obviously know this better than I do, Michael. I think this is Korean, Evil Dead. Love that. And I also like this because it seems so obscure, and it's got a brilliant retitling of the Evil Dead, Possession Infernal. I think this might be Spanish. I might be totally wrong on that. No, I'm right. It's got a Madrid address on the bottom there. Yeah, Possession Infernal. And if I'm not mistaken, it's got a lovely, lovely red cassette shell. See, that's another great thing about VHS. Sometimes the cassette shells can be special in some way. You know, they can be a different color, and that's really nice. You can't really have like a Blu-ray isn't going to be really any color, is it? Yeah, I think these are two that spring to mind. But I love the UK one. And I love a lot of these things. There's so much fun to be had with the Evil Dead stuff. As you know, Michael, as you know, having an incredible collection yourself. Thanks for asking that. That was a fun question. The Lizard Monkey remembers horror Betamax and VHS covers that mimicked family blockbusters. IT mimicked ET. Ghoulies had a green monster coming out of a toilet rather than a wooden box. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, there was like for each kind of blockbuster in a kind of a genre field, there was a whole wave of also ran C movies that kind of mimicked it, if only in terms of marketing. I think sometimes the marketing took advantage of that. Yeah, Talkie confirms that Rob Bottin did the thing, and he was 23 at the time, apparently. Wow. Oh yeah, Asgardinius6 notes. I should hire you as my PR person. I did do a whole video on this channel dedicated to my Evil Dead collection. I'll put a link up there in the archived version of this live stream video, and you can take a look. I went through like most of my video collection from around the world in the in Evil Dead wise. Oh yeah, Bad Wolf Archives has drawn attention to Rick Baker. We were talking about special effects, visual effects artists earlier, and Rick Baker is a great one. He did American Werewolf in London. Yeah, I mean that's fantastic. As Bad Wolf Archive says, enough said. Wow, Paul Owen says looks like he's quoting from an article because there's quote marks around this. At 21, while filming The Thing, Rob Bottin was hospitalized with exhaustion, double pneumonia, and a bleeding ulcer, all the result of taking on too much too soon. I'm not surprised. I mean, when you look at that workload that film must have had for him, it was such an intense experience, wasn't it? If it's intense to watch, imagine how intense it must have been to have to be responsible for all those visual effects. Right, I'm going to look through these comments. I really need to catch up. Still, I'm glad there's a load of comments. I want to read them all. Oh, Talkie tells Geigerpunk there's a copy of Tron on eBay for £40. In brackets, well, £60 with postage and packing. Of course, that doesn't mean it's going to sell necessarily, but it might. Right. I've reached the. I'm catching up with questions that I asked earlier, which is fine. I asked if people knew people at video shops, and if so, whether they got special favors or special treatment as a result. Geigerpunk recalls friend's mum worked at the video shop, so we could rent out the Mega Drive and games they had without having to leave the deposit that everyone else had to. Downside was couldn't get any mucky vids. Mucky vids. Is that what the sign said in the shop? Was there like a doorway at the back of the shop with like golden tassels hanging down, and then a little sign at the top that said mucky vids? Floyd says we used to get time codes of films not on rental at the time. Sometimes we had time codes. Time codes, by the way, are like kind of industry copies of films that have a constant kind of timer on screen, like burnt into the film on them. I'm not sure what the purpose of that was really. Sometimes we had time codes that were banned or delayed for a long time, such as True Romance and Natural Born Killers. Now I know Natural Born Killers was banned in the UK at one point. Why was what's the story with True Romance there, Floyd? True Romance is one of my favourite films. I love that. Tony Cross remembers the early Doctor Who VHS being very expensive. Yes. Where's my I thought I had the video of Doctor Who Revenge of the Cybermen there. I made a video about that as well. If I remember to, I'll put a card to that up there as well. Although I did that video a fair while ago. I'm not sure how good it will be. I might redo that video actually. Now that I can do kind of unboxing videos in a nicer kind of way, I might redo that. But yeah, I think that probably has a price tag on it that's probably about 50, 60, 70 quid. Imagine having to pay that, and also the fact that back then that amount of money was worth more. It was more expensive than it is now. Something like that. The Lizard Monkey remembers Ultraman VHSs that boasted a free mask with every rental. No video shop ever bloody had them. There's another topic. Free stuff in video shops. How cool was that? I loved that they would have like a poster bin that with rolled up posters in them, and usually maybe some shops sold them. Did your shop sell them? Yeah, me, especially if I was, because I've sort of established myself as a character customer. They'd give me a poster for free. It was amazing. Oh, let's have a quick look at a poster. Yeah, you want it. Let's have a look here. Oh dear. Lion Man. Did anyone ever see this film? I never saw this. Actually, I think I might have seen it and I can't remember it, which is probably a bad sign. And here's another film of the same ilk, the same what they call sword and sandal. Sword and sandal. Sword of the Barbarians. Here's a poster for the post-apocalyptic fans among you and the Medusa video label fans among you. Yes. Exterminators of the year 3000. Yes. That's just this type of film was one of my very favorite types of film to hire out from a video shop. I would hire out all of these and just love them. They're just so much fun. Obviously they're all Mad Max ripoffs, but to be honest, I really like the Mad Max films, obviously, but I prefer a lot of these Italian post-apocalyptic ripoffs to the Mad Max movies in many cases. Yeah. And I swear I haven't lined this up just to plug a load of my other YouTube videos, but I have done a video about post-apocalyptic movies on video. I'll put a link up there at some point. Maybe one more poster. Now this is a big one. I might have to stand back, but this is one of my favorite posters And I think the only reason I haven't got it on the wall is that it's so big. I do have a smaller version of it up on the wall, though. Who remembers this? Remember the Zero Boys? This is kind of, it's a backwoods horror film, kind of survivalist type, you know, like a Deliverance, Hunter's Blood, Southern Comfort, that type of thing. It's a nice kind of combination of action movie and horror film, directed by Nico Mastorakis, who also made Island of Death. The Zero Boys is on Blu-ray now from, I think that's on Arrow. And I'm not sure if you can watch that for free on Arrow Video, but get your link there down there to the free 30 days of streaming of Arrow movies on Arrow Video. You get a free 30-day trial. Link down below. And I also recommend you pick up the Zero Boys on Blu-ray because it's a right old 80s style laugh. It's very 80s. Right, so that's enough of those posters. Although it's good fun looking at posters, isn't it? Dewey says, yeah, I did watch, basically says, I did watch The Hand of Fear for the first time, as I asked earlier, about an hour ago, because I'm reading these comments so slowly because you lovely people are writing so many comments. Looking forward to seeing Leela's first story tomorrow, The Face of Evil. God, Dewey, I envy you so much. You're watching all this classic Doctor Who for the first time. That's awesome. Love it. Mark Patterson says, Invasion USA. Invasion USA was the first Chuck Norris film I saw, my gateway drug. By the way, there are probably a few people from America here, the United States of America, who are feeling slightly left out because so far I'm showing all UK videos. Here's an American video for you, the version of the American version of Invasion USA, also on MGM, but just the American release. I prefer the typeface of Invasion USA there because it's nice and red, but this is very nice. And these tapes also have the lovely feature of this flap opening up at the front. Look at that. How'd you like those apples, eh? Yes, very nice. There's the cast there, just in case you wanted to see the cast. I love Richard Lynch in this film. I just love Richard Lynch in general. He's such a great villain. He's brilliant. Oh, and just to give you another couple of tidbits of American tapes, which are ones we've already seen, the UK counterparts of. Here we have Revenge of the Ninja and Ninja 3, The Domination. Core, yeah. Those are two words that spring to mind. Core and yeah. Very nice. Just making sure the back covers are decent there. Lovely. You know me, I don't want you getting, like I said last week, I don't want you getting disturbed or scared or overly excited. We can't have you getting too excited during this live stream. It has to be moderately exciting. I must insist on that. Geigerpunk says, we're back in Cybermen territory. Always found the Cybermen's no emotions thing a bit curious when you see them pumping their fists and exclaiming, excellent. Now you don't start slagging off the Earthshock era. I won't have it, I tells you. God, I love Earthshock so much. And I love those Cybermen so much. Can't get enough of them. I'm really excited even about Silver Nemesis coming out on video because those Cybermen were so shiny and silvery and so excellent. Geigerpunk says Michael Berryman's still going. We're talking about the star of The Hills Have Eyes and Cut and Run. Yeah, he's still going. That's great. And I once met him. I've got a picture somewhere. Maybe I'll share that picture when I reach like as a reward when I reach like 150 patrons or something on Patreon because it's quite an embarrassing picture I've got. You know, it was a while ago and I look terrified sitting next to Michael Berryman. I also look quite different. Paul Owens observes, The Hills Have Eyes is such an amazing title. Surreal. It is, isn't it? Yeah. I started. Gardenia6 says, I miss Wes Craven with a sad emoticon face. I know. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? It's a real shame that some of the the greats of horror have already left us. George Romero has gone. Such a shame. Gardenia6 says about the Thing score that I mentioned earlier. Ennio Morricone originally did the score for The Thing. Carpenter thought it didn't work in some scenes, so he did his own score. Yeah, I'm just curious because obviously the film came out in the cinema and then it came out on UK video, and on the back it said home video, some music rescored. So I don't know. I wonder if that was the product of some kind of legal thing between Morricone and Carpenter. Did it ever get unpleasant? Good question from Geigerpunk. Do you know if any of your tapes have alternate covers printed on the reverse? I know Nightbreed did. Can't remember what others though. Yeah, some have, don't they? No. Hmm. Ah. I think it's possible. This, for some reason, this one sprang to mind. Here's a really random title for you. Blood Rights. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit. Look at that bloke there about to end up on the business end of a rake. For some reason, it's possible this might not have a reverse thing. Let's have a look. It does. So let's have a look at that. And then let's see what the reverse version is. In fairness, it's not incredibly different, but it is different. And of course, back then, it's possible that this label in particular, actually, yeah, there's quite a bit of difference between this one. This is interesting. Let's delve into why this might have been done. So if we look at this, on the back of this, there's gory, well, reasonably gory horror-like pictures, whereas this one makes it look like a vaguely classier thriller, or at least it doesn't kind of put all these horrible pictures in your face. So I kind of wonder if this came out at the time of the Video Nasties era, or when the Video Nasties thing was just about to take hold and the police were about to come knocking, and so this label put out two different sides of a cover so that video stores could decide to use this one and play on the safe side. Interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, that's another aspect of videotapes, isn't it? The tape shell, as we saw, can be red or different colors occasionally. The sleeve you can pull out. It's kind of a whole, I mean, obviously you can do that with Blu-rays as well. And actually, yeah, one thing I really like about Arrow Video is that their sleeves are always reversible generally, and they tend to have new artwork on the front of their Blu-rays, and then on the back there's the classic, more recognizable artwork. Personally, I don't understand why they don't use, in some cases, the classic recognizable artwork, because a whole load of people of a certain age are going to look at that and go, oh, I remember that, whereas they might not remember the title. Talky says, I worked briefly in Blockbuster. Not an enormously pleasant experience. No, I bet. Oh, Geigerpunk, as you'd expect from one of YouTube's premier retro gamers, Geigerpunk says he brings a bit of retro gaming finally to this live stream. Our video shop had a rack of Mastertronic budget games for sale right by the entrance to the back room of mucky tapes. So you'd spend ages browsing what to buy while trying to get a sneaky peek inside. So you must have been a bit torn, really, because you would have been genuinely interested in the Mastertronic budget games, but you also fancied having a look beyond the veil there, didn't you? Yeah, quite torn. Yeah, Motorhawk 2. Thanks for mentioning this, because this has been a thing that's been brought up a few times on Twitter when I asked earlier. Yeah, Motorhawk 2 says, we had a man in a van that rented out videos. Yeah, let's talk about men in Ven. Yeah, I mean, this is part of the whole cottage industry aspect of this. People realized in some places that they didn't need a bricks and mortar shop. They could just drive around with a load of videos in the backs of their cars or vans, and take videos to people as well, and kind of drive around collecting tapes, then taking them to new people. And we had that. We had like a guy who came. We had a guy who come to our house, and we'd go out the house, go to the back of his car, he'd open up his boot, which kind of gave it quite an illicit flavor in itself, as you can imagine. Dodgy boot full of videos, although they're all legitimate videos. And we'd look at all the boxes, and which all had the tapes in them, and then we'd rent a couple off him, or several maybe, and pay him in cash, and then it'd be off. And that was so cool. Anyone else remember this? And funnily enough, this is worth mentioning because apart from mentioning that Ghoster is 99p, I'm not going to dwell on my fiction in this live stream because this is about video store memories and retro stuff. But I have written a short form story, it's a novelette called Auto Rewind, which involves video shops and the video rental era. And I think, if you like scary / horror fiction, and you like the 80s and the VHS era, then this could be the one for you. And by sheer coincidence, I've got a link to Auto Rewind down there in the video description. You didn't see that coming, did you? No, you didn't expect that at all from me, with my list of lucrative links down there in the video description. But, I always think some authors are just really apologetic about plugging their stuff. But I also think we spend so long, we spend days, weeks, months, sometimes years writing this stuff, and then some authors are just like timid to mention it. Ridiculous. How are you ever gonna sell books? So, man in a van. I want to hear some more man in van stories from you. Yeah, keep them coming. JT Grooms says, I got the Anchor Bay DVD of Cut and Run. Marvelous. Yeah, actually, one thing I forgot to mention about Cut and Run, I don't know where it's gone now. Where's it gone? Could be anywhere now. Could be anywhere. But one thing I forgot. Wow, I went really blurry there. Why have I gone so blurry? This webcam is weird, isn't it? Why has it gone? Why has it done that? Hopefully I'll come back. I don't know why the webcam has decided to. How curious. What a random cam you are. Anyway, I can still speak to you. One thing I was going to tell you about the Cut and Run tape is that it's cut. If you have any interest in that film, it was censored quite badly, and the uncut version is quite a thing to behold because it's very different. I'm back. Don't know what the webcam did there. That was really random. Oh yeah, as Lino says, Cut and Run was apt as it was cut to pieces. Indeed, indeed. Bogeyman Productions, aka Michael Witchy, says, I actually miss the hunt of finding uncut versions of films that were cut in the UK. Yeah, the excitement of ordering a tape from Holland and hoping it don't get stopped at customs. Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's a whole video I could make about this, and I probably will. That even though it was very wrong for men in suits to decide to cut and ban films, it also created a whole bunch of excitement when it came to tracking down the uncut versions of those movies, and that was a whole joy in itself. Yeah, in my 20s I was a rock journalist, as I might have mentioned before, traveling about the place, going to America a lot, as you would when you're a rock journalist. And I used to love hunting down the unrated versions of movies that I might have seen in cut versions in the UK, and then bringing them back in my suitcase. And because there was kind of, there was no real kind of policy about this, but there was still, technically, I suppose I shouldn't have brought those tapes back. I don't know. I don't think anyone was really, I'm pretty sure someone once opened a suitcase and it was full of videos, so they didn't care. But there was probably nothing. It's probably all horror movies. JT Groom says, Raiders of Atlantis, aka the Atlantis Interceptors that I showed you earlier, is a blast. Indeed it is, JT. Indeed it is. Motorhawk 2 says, did you find your Iron Maiden Somewhere in Time album? No. Actually, I was on the phone to my mum earlier and she said, did you find your Iron Maiden albums? And I said, no. I mean, in fairness, I haven't had a chance to have a proper look this week because I've been writing quite a lot. But I will find it, and I'm going to spot that TARDIS that's on the cover. Thanks for the reminder, Motorhawk 2. Geigerpunk makes a sterling point about artwork on VHS covers. Anyone can knock something up in Photoshop, he says. It takes an artist to really paint a cover. Yeah, I mean, I think, Photoshop, if we're being fair about this, which I'm sure we are, Photoshop is an art in itself, kind of photograph-based stuff. I mean, the covers of the Doctor Who, the collection box sets are photograph-based, aren't they? I think mostly, maybe exclusively, but, they're kind of transformed by Photoshop. But yeah, I think generally, that kind of thing, that kind of artistry aside, yeah, proper artwork is lovely, isn't it? Right, I finally caught up to people replying to me asking why it's Motorhead Day. It's been 40 years since Ace of Spades. Okay, so 40 years since Ace of Spades, and tomorrow is 40 years since Friday the 13th. So Ace of Spades came out the day before Friday the 13th came out. That's a nice connection to make, isn't it? God, that was a hell of a weekend then, wasn't it? Oh, Mark Patterson answered my query about why we think actual artwork has been phased out of DVD and Blu-ray covers. Mark says, I think with trailers being the main sales pitch and so accessible these days via the internet, video/DVD cover art is less of a concern. Yeah, that's interesting. Also, Photoshop has sped up and cheapened the process. Yeah, it has, hasn't it? Yeah, that's a good point, I suppose. Yeah, so they're sort of placing less weight on the actual cover to sell you. But then again, people are still picking these things up in HMV, aren't they? Well, at least I hope they're going to continue to do that. I really hope HMV survives this whole crisis. Aaron has a question. What guitars do you own? Oh, that's a nice question. I have a nice acoustic guitar. I can't show you either of these because they're in another room. And if I went out, I'd probably knock over Robocop. I'm trapped in here now. I've got a nice sort of acoustic guitar, sort of cherry red thing. It's lovely. It's got a nice crisp sound. And I've got a BC Rich Ironbird electric guitar that I've had since about 1990 when I was in a band. I used to be in a thrash band. I started a thrash band of my own called Tenebrae that lasted about 5 minutes, but was a lot of fun. And we played a gig. Who knows? When I reach 500 patrons, maybe 1,000. When I reach 1,000 patrons on Patreon, I may show them that video. So, the Patreon link down there, get to it if you're really desperate to see it. Actually, that shouldn't be a reward, should it? Watching the old gig of my band who weren't really ready to play a gig. Basically, you'd be paying for my embarrassment, wouldn't you? Although we did have the odd good song. Ace of Spades, says Paul Owens, still sounds brutal. It does. Geigerpunk. Now, do you remember earlier, the rate I'm going through these comments, this was about an hour ago, but JT was talking about a video shop that turned into a burrito bar / nail bar, and I asked if it had been named in a way that covered both. And Geigerpunk has suggested nail bar Ritos, which is very good. That is good, isn't it? If they haven't gone for that name, then they're fools to themselves. Fools to themselves, I tell you. Aaron says he would definitely buy a Jack Sparks t-shirt. That's good. Keep the comments coming if you would buy one of these babies, and I'll make sure it happens. Yeah, Talkey remembers being able to phone up the video shop and then go in and ask to reserve. Oh, so you could phone up or go into the video shop and ask to reserve a video. Yeah. Yeah, Mad Phantom Max remembers the mixing up of genres was appalling. Sometimes a horror film was sat next to a Disney or adventure. To not see the back was just as haunting as daring to pick the thing up and actually see it at all. Yeah, and to be honest, the fact that video shops were family places or perceived that way, back in the first half of the 80s, and yet they had, Driller Killer potentially on one shelf next to Disney's Bambi on another shelf. That is what caused a lot of the trouble, because you could have little toddlers coming in and seeing Driller Killer, and even I don't really think that's right, even though I'm quite, libertarian, if that's the word. Nos says, I have my horror collection arranged in a way so I can stand there and admire it. I have my own little section of my room. Yes. It's weird because this room you see behind me, this is like part of my collection, and there's like more through there. One day, I love this. This is like luxury, this place, but I'd love to one day have like a one video room where I can put it all together. And also, like everything you see on those shelves back there, there's something else behind it. So you're kind of, even when you see all this, you're only seeing half of what's in the room in terms of physical media. Yeah, that's kind of scary, isn't it? Talky remembers, in answer to the question about movies that had great cover art but then under delivered. Talky remembers Bilge like Wizards of the Lost Kingdom. Has a video cover ever lied more? Oh, I've got that, I've got that on video. Tempted to get it. Do I get it? I don't know if I can get it out of, it might be in a pile of stuff. Yeah, I can remember Wizards of the Lost Kingdom. Did that have a kind of a never-ending story type cover with like a flying beast that probably wasn't in the movie? Don't know if I ever watched it. Paul Owens asks me, what video do you have very fond memories of, but when you went back to watch was awful? God, that's a good question, isn't it? I'm not entirely sure if that's happened, because I tend to, if I like stuff as a teenager, then when I go back, I tend to like it now. And I can't remember kind of going back and thinking, God, what did I see in this? It's almost as if you'd swear, wouldn't you, that my tastes are frozen in time, and like my mind is frozen in the mind of a teenager. Surely that can't be the case. I'd like anyone else to answer that question, though. I think that's a good question, Paul. What video do you have very fond memories of, but when you went back to watch was awful? Right, let me catch up here. Oh, God. Wow. Yeah, got a lot. Wow. Paul Owen says, show us the Driller Killer cover, you coward. No. Shan't. So I'm just catching up on comments here. Mark remembers ninja movies. Me and my cousin love ninja movies. We wanted to be ninjas and would zip our Nike wind cheaters up over our face and fight with sticks. Speaking of sticks, my incense has run out. We can't have that, can we? If my incense ran out one day, I'd be incensed. Oh dear. Please don't go. Please don't go. Stay where you are. There won't be any more jokes like that. I swear to gold. I swear to gold. Ninja movies. Let me show you a couple of other ninja movies then, Mark, since you like them. I'm sure you're not alone in that. I am a big fan of ninja movies. Yeah. Obviously I loved horror movies when I was a kid and I was renting movies from these video stores, but two of my favorite genres or subgenres was undoubtedly ninja movies and post-apocalyptic films. Two more Shokasugi movies. Who remembers 9 Deaths of the Ninja? Now, I sort of didn't watch this. I don't know if I watched this back in the day. So I went back and watched this in the last year or so, and it was all right. It was kind of like a bit of a cheesy, sort of slightly James Bondy thing. It's not as good as Revenge of the Ninja or Ninja 3: The Domination. I do love this, however. Pray for Death. This is great. Again, this is Sho Kosugi, who's in Revenge of the Ninja and Ninja 3: The Domination. This is not a canon movie, though, I don't think, but it is really good. It's just a pretty straightforward revenge movie with lots of violence. It's cut in this country, though, unfortunately. It's got James Booth in it as a really unpleasant gangster. He really adds something to the movie because he's a great gangster. He's having fun with that, and it's worth hunting down the uncut version of this because the finale makes a very creative use of nunchucks. Let's just say that. Let's just say that, shall we? Okay. Geigerpunk remembers a rental experience. I remember one called Cellar Dweller that we never rented because the tagline was so terrible. And the tagline was down in the pit, there's it. That is indeed quite appalling, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, I'm just sharing this stream on Twitter. Why not? And I'm also going to share it on Facebook. Again. Why not? There we go. I don't think I ever saw Cellar Dweller, you know. Yeah, I think I never had the pleasure of that, so that's something we have in common. I don't know if I even have Cellar Dweller on video. The lizard monkey's seen it though, and the lizard monkey quaffs onto Geigerpunk. Great monster in Cellar Dweller. Might be designed by Screaming Mad George. Oh yeah, Screaming Mad George was another great special effects artist, wasn't he? Did he do Society? Gardenia 6 remembers Dead Alive, which is AKA Brain Dead, the Peter Jackson movie Brain Dead, which is well worth seeing. Has Brain Dead had a Blu-ray release in this country? I'm not sure if it has. Anyway, Gardenia 6 says Dead Alive was a great cover and poster. Yeah, that was pretty good, yeah. It sort of had a bit of a, yeah. It didn't really, although there's a couple of covers, like the UK cover was weird. It didn't represent the movie at all. The Lizard Monkey remembers Rawhead Rex as a great cover and remembers the film itself as being weird, like a Father Ted video nasty. Yeah. Geigerpunk notes going back to previous comments about alternate covers. Pretty sure Dead Alive / Brain Dead had 2 covers as well. Yeah, I think so. Michael, yeah, thanks for. Yeah, I'm glad you like those versions of the Evil Dead. Oh yeah, and you're also pointing out that the Korean Evil Dead tape has a pic of Chunk from the Goonies on the back. Yeah, let's just have a quick. Have I still got that here? Where is that? Yeah. I don't know if I showed you that. Did anyone spot this? Bloke from Goonies on the back there for no apparent reason. Ridiculous. Ludicrous behaviour. Yeah. Yeah, earlier as well, I asked Mark Patterson how his video shop managed to photocopy all their covers in blood red ink. He says, I don't know, Jason. Maybe the video store spilled some sweet and sour sauce in the Xerox machine, but the photocopied covers were red. I just don't know. Hey there, Barry Pook. How you doing? Something I miss, says Barry, is the lack of trailers these days on DVDs. Some people hated them, but it was all part of my enjoyment. Yeah, I love trailers on videos. And yeah, Medusa Video, who I showed you a few tapes on, tapes of, they would have loads of trailers on the front of their videos, and it was always enjoyable. I must admit, though, weirdly, the thing that annoys me often about DVDs these days, if they do have a load of trailers, is that for some reason you kind of feel, I think sometimes you have to watch them. And that's annoying, especially if you bought like this film to watch at any time at home. I don't know what it is. Maybe trailers just aren't so good these days, but I think there was something specifically 80s and of course 90s about the kind of trailers that came out back then. Because I suppose, when it came to horror movies, they used to have the scary voice like this. And there was a whole charm in that by itself, whereas today's trailers are kind of less exciting. Geigerpunk has had a memory. Oh God, I forgot I have a time code copy of Rocketeer given to me by my cousin when he worked at his local shop for a while. But where is that tape, eh? Do you know where it is? Where is it? Lots of people in the comments having a laugh about mucky vids. Classic. Hello, John Hood. Alonzi, says John Hood, who's a big Doctor Who fan, as you might have gathered. Hope everyone's well. My parents gifted me a copy of Revenge of the Cybermen on VHS, which I watched religiously. That must have been brilliant, John. I think it's a great box, even though it's got the wrong Cyberman on the cover. It's got an Earthshock Cyberman. I don't mind, though, because I like, as I might have mentioned, the Earthshock Cyberman. Geigerpunk says, subtle skull design there on Zero Boys. Really? There's a skull in the artwork. How have I never noticed this? Okay, next time I have a look at that, I'm going to have a look at that. Floyd has answered my query about True Romance and the delay of its release back in the day. It was released in cinemas in 1993 and was delayed and eventually came out on VHS in 1995. That's interesting. I wonder if that VHS version was cut then. I saw True Romance at the cinema and wow, loved it so much. Blew me away. Aaron says, I know it's not a rental store, but I used to work in a cinema. I used to give free stuff away with all horror films that came out. I managed to gather an impressive collection of movie poster quads. Wow. Yeah, I bet. Have you still got them? Give them all to me. Actually, I don't have any space on my walls, as you can see. Where would I put posters? I do have some sort of in certain parts around the flat, but I don't have as much wall space as I might like. Sci-Fi Pulse is talking Doctor Who. Saw The Deadly Assassin for only the second time the other day. The first time was when it was broadcast. Man, what a great story. Oh yeah, I love The Deadly Assassin. The Master is just one of the best things ever. Geigerpunk says, is Chuck Norris still selling elasticated jeans especially designed for freedom of movement when doing high kicks? I must admit, I don't have any knowledge about whether he is or not. Yeah, Chuck Norris hasn't really weathered well, has he, Chuck Norris, like Arnie has? I mean, just in terms of, I don't know, Chuck just seems to be, I don't know. I love his movies from the 80s. Yeah. Gardenia6 says, yes, please put up the Berryman poster on Patreon. I might do. I might show my patrons. Yeah, I love my Patreon patrons. And I will do almost anything for them. Although, to quote Meatloaf, I won't do that. But I might. If you'd like to join my Patreon, blah, 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 link down there. Help support me and the channel with a pledge every month if you're inexplicably rich. Geigerpunk recalls Silver Nemesis, which he describes as an odd one. Was that the first time actual magic was used? Oh no, that wasn't quotes. That was the stress. That was asterisks. Actual magic was used. Yeah, when Lady Painfort travels from the past. Yeah, Yeah, I think it was. There seemed to be some kind of magic there. It's like the show for once couldn't think of a way to kind of scientifically justify time travel because they just needed to get Lady Painfort and her servant to the present day. Yeah, and as you say, Geigerpunk, always thought her manservant would have made a great companion. That's interesting. John Hood comes after Geigerpunk's comment. John Hood says, Silver Nemesis is my least favourite cyber story. I'll see myself out. Yes, thank you, John. It's been nice to see you. But out you go. What is my least favourite cyber story? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of dwelling on least favourite things. Always best. It's more fun in life, isn't it, to dwell on the things you love most. When my cousin worked at a video store, he found that when he swapped the cover for Nightbreed round, it started going out more often again. It was a handy way for stores to renew interest in a title. Oh God, I wonder if anyone ever hired out the same title twice because they'd forgotten the title, and the artwork changed, and so they yeah, I wonder if that happened. Sci-Fi Pulse, talking about retro gaming, very nice. As I've said before, for anyone joining us now, we're talking about the main thrust is video shop memories, but you can also talk about and ask anything you like within the realm, basically, of this channel, which is pretty broad. Doctor Who, retro video games, blah, blah, blah. Sci-Fi Pulse says, I was always jealous of Spectrum and Commodore owners because my parents got me a BBC Acorn Electron because they wanted me to do schoolwork on it. I mean, as if, ... Yeah, imagine that, schoolwork. Yeah, you see, things like computers like the Electron looked more respectable, didn't they? Because they had a proper clicky-clacky keyboard. My first computer, as I might have mentioned before, was a Dragon 32, and I was attracted to it partly because it looks amazing and had a brilliant clicky-clacky keyboard. And I still love that keyboard now. I could probably still write a novel on that keyboard now. It's brilliant. I still love that kind of keyboard. And I made the most of that Dragon. I know the game capacity wasn't ideal, and the screens were very green. Check out Geigerpunk's channel if anyone who hasn't seen it. There's lots of Dragon 32 gameplay videos on it, and lots of gameplay videos right across the board. It's just one of my favorite channels, so go and subscribe to Geigerpunk. Interesting. Mark Patterson. Morricone recycled some of his score from The Thing in Tarantino's Hateful Eight. Wow, that's interesting. Last Avenger 85. Hello, how you doing? You're asking if my CRT, my old TV, is working yet. No, it's not. There it is, though. You can have a look at it with a Cyberman on top. That's quite an archetypal old TV, isn't it? It's got like an old videotape on there on the left, a Cyberhead, and a pile of Atari cartridges. That's a nice little display by anyone's standards. No, it's not fixed yet, sadly. But I hope to get it working. Mad Phantom Max recalls of the video era, asking for standees. Standees, by the way, in case you're unaware, are these type of things. Yeah. Display things. Asking for standees and posters was fun. Video shops were very kind. They would laugh at you for wanting it like it was rubbish. They might tell you to come back in a few weeks and put your name on it. Yeah, I can remember all that. Yeah, that was exciting. God, it was so exciting to get all that. This is Mad Phantom Max again. I once saw a Howling 2 window display with about 20 posters and 50 sample covers with a standee in the middle, right in the front window. It was probably gone a week later. Yeah, I bet it was. Geigerpunk has what he calls an apocryphal story from uni. The Paintball Society, while off for a session in a van, all jumped out at the local Flea Pit cinema and stole the Last Action Hero Arnie standee at gunpoint. Well, paintball gunpoint, but still gunpoint. That's a ludicrous story. That is ludicrous. Oh, they were apparently stopped on the M6 by armed police. God. Hold on, I've the comments have gone weird again. Mark Patterson adds he would also buy a Jack Sparks t-shirt. Maybe this idea has legs. Thanks, Mark. Good to know. Sci-fi Pulse. That's a nice little anecdote. I remember my late mum bringing home a video for me when I was sick called 1001 Arabian Nights. She thought it was a Sinbad thing. Turned out to be Sinbad, but with something extra. Lol. Saucy Sinbad, was it, sir? Floyd75 says Sho Kosugi's Enter the Ninja is another good one. But he plays a baddie, and Franco Nero, who played Django, is the goodie. Yeah, I don't mind Enter the Ninja. I've never been a huge fan of it. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's good, and I rented it at the time. It's good fun. But for me, like Revenge the Ninja and Ninja 3 just really take the whole thing up several notches. Hello, Scotty B. I know you're a big Doctor Who fan, Scotty. Scotty says, do you still think season 20 will be next? I've never said that I think season 20 will be next. I've got no idea, honestly. But it does seem to be rumoured for some reason. I don't know. Season 20 is the second Peter Davison season, isn't it? So I'd certainly welcome another Peter Davison season. I'd also really welcome another Pertwee season. I'd like that. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, Geiger Punkers remember that Simon Bates was on these videos, wasn't he? Talking in a patronizing fashion about certificates and saying, thanks for watching. He was always annoying, says Geiger Punk. Gardenia 6 says that today's trailers give away the whole movie. Yeah, you're not wrong there. Barry Pook says, would you mind showing a bit more of your Jack Sparks t-shirt, please? Yes. I mean, no. Look at that. That's a lovely design, isn't it? It's a genius piece of work by Razel, my friend Razel. And if you'd like to, the t-shirts aren't currently available. This is like, Ray surprised me for my birthday and gave me a handful of these shirts. And yeah, that was quite a surprise. I think he might have put this on the front of my birthday card as well. So that was quite a surprise, yeah. Lovely. So the t-shirts aren't currently available, but if anyone would like to buy one, tell me in comments and badger me on Twitter or something and remind me. Catching up. Mark Patterson says, does anyone remember reading Fangoria? Absolutely. And I believe Fangoria is still going, isn't it? I saw something recently about how it stumbled and then picked itself up again in terms of still being published. I'm not sure. Yeah, Fangoria magazine's great. I mean, that's part and parcel of the 80s and 90s for me when it comes to horror. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Sometimes the comments kind of jump up and you have to find the spot again. Mad Phantom X says, has a memory, picking up an old retro movie and looking at the condition of the box. An old 60s movie would look quite at home in its unique plastic container, which was in fact only a couple of years old. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? The boxes. Oh, we video collectors and boxes. We can talk about boxes all day. Geigerpunk notes of the Dragon 32 computer. It's huge, like the BBC B. Probably felt like good value for money over a tiny little Specky. Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, because the Spectrum, obviously at that time, I guess had like the rubber keys, which I love. That's my favorite Spectrum. That is the Spectrum as far as I'm concerned. I think one of the reasons why I'm not really into the Spectrum Next is it has that sort of Spectrum Plus keyboard, which is just horrible. That doesn't arouse senses of nostalgia in me. But also, would we want like the rubber keys created? I'm not sure. I think the 120K Spectrum keyboard is probably the best overall in terms of usability. There's a great video store memory from Mad Phantom Max. There was always a bell on the door so they could hear you coming and going. Yeah, you can't beat that. Oh, look at that, rogue motorbike. Simon Mallison has a retro video gaming memory for us. Went through 4 joysticks playing Daley Thompson Decathlon. Yeah, absolutely. Didn't we all? Didn't we all? I wonder how many arcades had to like replace the joysticks on was it Track and Field, that arcade game where everyone was going like that while trying to make the character on screen run. You didn't have to rent anything, says Mad Phantom Max. You were welcome to just walk around for an hour or so. Yeah, in terms of video shops, that's right, isn't it? I mean, I suppose they would prefer that you rented something, but I guess, if you were renting stuff over time, then it's not like they'd insist that you rent something every time that you came in. Yeah, and shops are nice in that you could probably, and I did, I had a friend who ran a video shop, or made friends with someone who ran a video shop, and I'd go there in my teenage years and just hang around for ages and chat and look at videos, and there's a whole social aspect to that, isn't there? Aaron says, you mentioned about your love of possession and exorcisms last time. What's your favorite book and or film on the topic, and have you read Hostage to the Devil by Malachi Martin? I haven't read Hostage to the Devil. I've heard about it. When I was writing the Last Days of Jack Sparks, this book features possession and exorcism a lot. And I did read some non-fiction books, some sort of textbooks on exorcism, and now I can't remember what they are or were, which is annoying, isn't it? Sorry about that. I can picture the covers, but I can't picture what they were. But I read quite a lot. I was kind of cherry picking things here and there so I could kind of sum them up, I guess. So I'm not going to be very helpful on this. Let me think about the film, though. I'm sure I can tell you my favorite possession film. I mean, it kind of has to be The Exorcist, doesn't it? In terms of a possession film, even though I love Exorcist 3 even more than The Exorcist. I know that's probably blasphemy to some people, but I don't think it's probably that controversial these days, because I think a lot of people have really come to love Exorcist 3 in its own right, now that they're not looking at it so much as like being in direct competition with The Exorcist. So yeah, I know that's a bit predictable, but I think, yeah, if you're talking about possession movies, then The Exorcist has to be up there, doesn't it? What else do I love in the world of possessions? I liked The Last Exorcism, the sort of found footage possession / exorcism movie. That was pretty creepy. Geigerpunk says, oh, thinking of Peter Davison seasons, was always disappointed Richard Mace in The Visitation didn't become a companion. Yeah, that would have been great. Oh, and he adds, although obviously they had more than enough companions at that point anyway. Yes, because they had Adric, Nyssa, and Tegan, didn't they? And then they might have added like the historical Richard Mace. He was brilliant though, wasn't he? Yeah, sometimes people like that, and also from that same era, Nerys Hughes's character in Kinder felt like she was companion material, mainly because she was Nerys Hughes. I love Kinder, that Doctor Who story Kinder. That's mad. I watched that last year, I think, or maybe a couple of years ago. And things like the cliffhanger with the box. Sorry, I spat there, didn't I? Outrageous. The thing with the cliffhanger when they just open a box, that's the cliffhanger. They're in a cell together and they open the box, and I think Nerys Hughes screams. And that is a brilliant cliffhanger. Floyd says, would the Jack Sparks t-shirt come in an extra large? Yeah, if that's your you know, if you're up for if enough people are up for a Jack Sparks t-shirt, then yeah, what I would do is get it made by a company that can deal in any type of size. Geiger Punk, I'm glad you like that, by the way. I'm glad you like this t-shirt. Geiger Punk says, I really want a toast rack Specky, which, by the way, is Geiger Punk's way of referring to the Spectrum Plus, because it kind of had some slats that looked a bit like a toast rack as part of its design. I really want a toast rack Specky like I used to have. So you really like them, yeah. But they're going for around 200 these days, too rich for me. Is the toast rack Specky the Plus, or is that 128K? I can't quite remember. I think it's the Plus. Geiger Punk also notes on the theme of video shops, Clerks must seem like a historical document to kids today with a video shop in it, much like old films with people trying to find a phone box as they don't have mobiles to call for help. Yeah. I tell you, phone boxes and yeah, writing horror movies was a lot simpler before mobiles came along. It kind of, the presence of mobiles in the world kind of means that everyone in horror movies has to either have their phone stolen or broken, or the signal just simply isn't strong enough. Although I suppose there's always another way around that. Floyd says on the subject of possession movies, Ninja 3 The Domination is a great possession movie. Yeah, it is. It actually is. Because yeah, it's about a fitness instructor who gets possessed by the spirit of a ninja. Always nice. Always nice. Yeah. Let me just show you. I want to make sure I show you a couple more covers. Let me just show you. Let's have a look at some action films. I've shown you a few, but let's have a look at some more. Here is Vigilante. Yeah, that's a pretty tough action movie with Fred Williamson and Woody Strode, Robert Forster. Remember Robert Forster? And directed by William Lustig, who directed Maniac and the like, and Maniac Cop. And here is one of my favorites, and this is a great piece of artwork. I bet you can remember this if you're around in the 80s video era. Bronx Warriors. See, this is exactly the kind of cover that I would love back in the day. And then you look at the back and you see all these cool pictures of like motorcycle gangs and guns and weapons, and just marvelous. And Bronx Warriors is really good. It's got a great cast. It's got Vic Morrow, Christopher Connolly, who we saw in the Atlantis Interceptors earlier, Fred Williamson from Dusk Till Dawn, and Mark Gregory, who is the star of this, and he's also in the films called the Thunder films. They're called Thunder, and then Thunder 2 and Thunder 3, sort of First Blood ripoff. Bronx Warriors 2 is, I think, much better than this film. I think Bronx Warriors 2 is great. It's action-packed, and it's got Henry Silver in it. Do you remember Henry Silver? Henry Silver is top-notch. Yeah, when I think of like 80s villains, people like Richard Lynch and Henry Silver, they're just the creme de menthe, as Del Boy might say, in Only Fools and Horses. Right, just catching up. Oh, there's some kind of moth flying around, buzzing around. Lee01, hello Lee. I think this is your first comment. Do you remember the free mag video from Ritz Video? This is ringing a bell. And actually, I remember what I wanted to show you. I've got some. Anyone remember this free magazine that was given away in video shops? I know, I say it was free. It wasn't free at all. And actually, I don't know if it was given away in video shops. Maybe it was sold in video shops. I can't remember. But anyway, this was a title from back in the day. It doesn't actually say what year this was, but I guess we can kind of assume but it was. Oh yeah, there's some good stuff. You see like reviews of 2000 Maniacs there on video, and Eaten Alive, the cannibal film. There's Embalmed, and some ridiculous covers like The Butcher there. That looks preposterous, doesn't it? Drawn by a child. Now, this is quite Michael Jackson centric, this. Yeah, it's not the most spectacular magazine in the world, but I thought it was worth flashing up in case anyone went, oh, network video. I totally remember that. How'd you like that? Last week we saw The Exterminator, didn't we? And here is Exterminator 2. I've always loved this cover. I think this cover is so cool. And I mean, the film is kind of ludicrous and was kind of a slightly troubled production, I think, and it's a bit choppy, the editing, and you feel like it's been messed about with quite a lot. But as I remember, it's all right. It's a good old laugh. Yeah. I'm a big fan of sequels. There's something really cool about a sequel. Let me catch up on Geigerpunk says someone ought to write a horror story specifically centered around a mobile phone. Do you know anyone who might write such a thing, Jason? Well, it's funny you should mention this, Mr. Punk, because there is a book called Ghoster, which is about a paramedic whose boyfriend goes missing just as she's about to move in with him, leaving only his mobile phone behind. And she has to decide whether to open it up and find out what's going on, or resist opening it up and get on with her life. 99p on Kindle, funnily enough, at the moment. Ghoster is. There's a link down there in the video description. Have a click over to Amazon UK, stick it on your Kindle, forget all about it, and then one day you'll be looking through your Kindle and you go, oh yeah, that's Jason Arnopp's book. Maybe I'll give that a go. Yeah, nice. Aaron, oh, thank you for saying so. The Last Days of Jack Sparks is one of my favorite possession books, by the way. And I remember watching, thank you very much. I remember watching The Exorcist with my cousin when we were about 12. Nightmares for weeks. What's going on up there? Is that, oh, it's a moth flopping about. Nightmares. You watched The Exorcist when you were 12. Wow. Yeah. What was I watching around the same sort of time? I suppose we probably saw Salem's Lot, which scared me at least as much as The Exorcist did, although I didn't watch The Exorcist when I was 12. I did watch Salem's Lot, and the little vampire children floating outside windows, scratching on the glass. Still scares me. I'm still a bit hesitant to revisit Salem's Lot. A couple of years ago, I bought a German Blu-ray which has like the full version of the TV miniseries, and that was definitely worth getting because there were different versions of Salem's Lot. It came out on video, obviously, and I think it was, I guess it was a cut down version. I'm not sure. Maybe it was the 90-minute version or the 100-minute version. I can't remember now. There's so much to remember about different versions of different films, isn't there? Geigerpunk controversially says, I've never seen the Doctor Who story. Kinder had my hands over my ears and was going la 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 just then. Oh, I see. Oh God. Yeah. I'm usually really good with spoilers. Well, I didn't tell you the ending, did I? I just told you what one of the cliffhangers was. But yeah. Sorry about that. Yes. John Hood says, I still have a ZX Spectrum Plus complete with original box. Would you like to sell it, John, cheaply to Geigerpunk? If so, that'd be a marriage made in heaven, wouldn't it? That'd make this whole live stream even more delightful than it already has been. Nos says, bouncing back to classic old horror, which is your preferred cut of Dawn of the Dead, Argento or Romero? I can't remember, I can't remember what the difference is. Oh dear. But to make up for that, I will show you a couple of extremely colorful American videotapes. Oh, actually, one American videotape of Dawn of the Dead. Look at that. Is that, could this be in the Guinness Book of Records as the most colourful videotape cover ever in the world? I think that's possible, isn't it? To be honest with you, I'm not a massive fan of Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I like it and I appreciate its place in zombie history and horror history, and I like the fact it's pretty gory with that exploding head that I think was cut from the original UK version. But I've always been more into this. Yeah, Day of the Dead is a better film for me. It's more tension and sort of less comedy and even more gore. God, the gore in that is preposterous. Yeah, really nasty stuff as well, which is obviously for the best. Let's have a look at a random tape cover. Anyone remember this? Light Blast with Eric Estrada of Chips fame. See, there's an example of a cover looking enormous, and it's not a bad film actually. It's kind of like it's kind of a standard kind of cop movie, but with a bit of sci-fi, because it's about an evil genius who has like a big laser basically, and is keeping a city held to ransom with this big laser gun pointed at it. And this version is cut. It's worth tracking down the uncut version, because it's kind of got, I don't know why this was cut, because if I remember rightly, the only things that were cut was the effects that this laser had on people, and the special effects of people like melting were exactly the same, if I remember rightly, as the Nazi melting at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was basically inspired by that. So why there was one standard for, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark and another for this, I don't know. Mind you, you can't always blame the censors back then, in fairness. I mean, generally you can blame them because they were a terrible bunch. But sometimes distributors would choose to cut films beforehand to make them more commercial. So there is that, I suppose. Sometimes. RZ, this is Ray Zell, hiding behind the flimsy pseudonym of RZ exclamation mark, says, have you ever sucked the jelly out of a pork pie with a straw? No, I haven't, Ray, but I think you have, haven't you? I am a vegetarian, so, you know, pork pies really aren't my thing. Funny that, isn't it? Funny that. Geigerpunk says, nice design for Vigilante there. Shame someone just slapped that 18 on it at random. Yeah, where is that? Where's that gone? Ah, yeah. Yeah, but I don't mind this sort of thing. Yeah, this is like a video shop sticking extra certificates on. That's like an extra one as well. See, this was basically, shops did that sort of thing because this originally came out as a pre-certificate tape without a certificate on. But there was a period of time where shops, you know, they didn't know that the law was just closing in on them, and they didn't really know what to do. So they just bunged certificates on it, as if any sort of, you know, if any policeman in the know would be fooled by this and go, oh, this has got a proper certificate on it, so it must be fine. But yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind actually. Generally, I don't. Again, it sort of feels like a bit of history, and it's like, you know, this tape with this exact positioning of video shop stickers is unique, isn't it? Technically. Mad Phantom Max says, early on, a few videos could sometimes be found in petrol stations, etc. Knowing that you could pick them up to look at them was actually not obvious to those that had no VCR. No, I suppose it wasn't. I mean, there was a time when videos, it's so easy to forget this now, isn't it? But there was a time when videos were so new that, yeah, it was like a whole new concept. It's like, what? I can sort of, so there's reels in this thing, and so I can put this in this machine, and what, this will show me a film on a screen on my TV. That just sounds preposterous. What kind of sorcery is that? Yeah, some people didn't know what they were, adds Mad Phantom Max. Floyd says, I had the tin DVD box set of the Bronx Warriors trilogy by Shameless. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's a great DVD box set with some nice extras, and There were only 2 Bronx Warriors movies made, and so so there isn't really a Bronx Warriors trilogy at all. It's a bit of a marketing thing. But the 3rd film in there is good. It's The New Barbarians, which is a splendid post-apocalyptic film. Yeah. Oh, look out! Right, here's the video of the Zero Boys. So let me see. So where's the skull? Hold on. Oh yeah, I can sort of see what you mean. Maybe it's like one of those magic eye things where you have to like stare at it until it, yeah, until you can see what it is. Yeah. Love the Zero Boys. Ah, here's one that I put in the video thumbnail, so I should show you a bit more of. The Delta Force. Yeah, I was a big Chuck Norris fan at the time, and I loved Invasion USA, and this was the film that came out, that Canon brought out after Invasion USA, and so I was well into this. Went to see it at the cinema, loved it, and then I was just amazed to get this on video. Absolutely astonished. It's hard to kind of, stress how magical. This box is empty actually because I've got it on a display rack in the other room. It's hard to stress how magical it was to own a film like that. Oh, this is also on the video thumbnail. The webcam went out of focus and now it's back. So here's a classic slice of horror for you. Look at that. There are 2 different covers for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sorry, I'm just distracted by a moth. I'm not sure which I prefer. The other one is kind of more horror and more gruesome, but this is probably a bit more classy, I suppose, if you can ever have a classy cover for something called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh yeah, this is another example of brutal blurb. Shall we have a look at the blurb on the back of this? I think we should. The film is an account of the tragedy which befell a group of 5 youths, in particular Sally Hardesty. And of course, the blurb is going along with the true story thing that the film kind of follows. For them, an idyllic summer afternoon drive became a nightmare when they were exposed to an insane and macabre family of chainsaw killers. Does that mean they kill chainsaws or they kill with chainsaws? Tricky. One by one, they disappear to be brutally butchered, each murder more horrendous than the last, with one victim being hung live on a meat hook, another trapped in his wheelchair as he is hacked to death. Well, I suppose when you put it like that, it's quite a nasty film, isn't it? And the surviving member of the group making a frantic bid for escape in the horrific climax. I like this bit at the end. This video cassette is based on a true incident. Well, actually, no. I mean, if we're going to be pedantic, the video cassette itself is not based on a true incident. The film on the video cassette is, and is definitely not for the squeamish or the nervous. Yeah, I think we kind of got that message, didn't we? We did get that message. Nice blood red label there on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I've got quite a lot of videotapes down there. Motorhawk 2 has a nice question which combines Doctor Who and horror. Did you like the Doctor Who possession story Midnight? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. In fact, it's one of my favorite Doctor Who stories. I think Midnight is amazing. Yeah, it's genuinely scary. Even for adults, I think Midnight is scary. Leslie Sharp really contributes a lot to that. She makes that properly frightening. Because she actually reminds me a bit of who, I can't remember the actress, but the actress who plays Cheryl in the Evil Dead. I don't know, for some reason Leslie Sharp. I don't know why they don't look alike at all. But I suppose they both play possessed people, don't they? And this is quite weird because once again, I'm going to mention another video I've done on this channel, but I literally made a video about why I love Midnight. And I'll put a link to it up there in case you're bizarrely still watching the archived version of this video 2.5 hours in. Well done if you are. That's really impressive. Thank you. Yeah, Floyd agrees with me on Henry Silver, saying he was the go-to bad guy in the 80s. Yeah, Henry Silver's great. I wish I had something here with him on so I could show you him, but you know, you could you can always Google Henry Silver, Silva. Gardenia 6 says Bronx Warriors, a film made in 1982 and set in futuristic 1990. Ha ha ha. I know. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, actually, the post-apocalyptic video that I mentioned earlier was about that fact that the sort of, you know, that so many of these are post-apocalyptic movies and they are amusingly dated. Danny B. I've got one of their mags. Yeah, so what is that? The network video thing I showed you earlier. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad someone recognized it. Geigerpunk says Exterminator 2 cover is basically the kill it with fire meme. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that meme. It might be one of those things where I've seen it, but I sort of can't quite picture it in my mind. Ryan Tablet is among us. Hello, Ryan. You were with us last Friday night, weren't you, for the live stream? Good to see you. Mad Phantom Max has a question for all of us, I think. Video shops. How many viewings was enough for your money? Could you run the tape round to a friend's? Would they notice if it was a day late? Not always. Wow. Yeah, I wonder if they would. Yeah, I think we're all pretty well behaved in our family. I think I can't remember us ever taking anything back late. Mind you, it was only a walk up the street, all the video shops near us, really. Bogeyman Productions, aka Michael, says my girlfriend Helen just bought Ghoster for her Kindle. Fantastic. That's fantastic for two reasons. A, for the purchase. Thank you, Helen. And B, because it gives me another excuse to say that Ghoster there is 99p on Kindle. I mean, that's like less than a penny per page. That's probably like a third of a penny per page. That's outrageous. Link in bio. Link in video description, rather. Mark Patterson says, is the Amityville Horror a possession movie? Yeah, I think it sort of is, isn't it? Because George Lutz? Yeah, I think that's a possession movie. I'll tell you what is a possession movie, though. Amityville 2, The Possession. That's definitely a possession movie. And I really like, I think I prefer, I might need to revisit to be sure of this, but I think I prefer Amityville 2 to the Amityville Horror. I think I first saw Amityville 2, The Possession, on TV. I think it was ITV because there was adverts, and it was scary. I think it's scary, and it goes mad at the end. It really goes for it with the possession and the sort of the Exorcist style effects. I think Dino De Laurentiis, the producer, I think he was the producer of it, obviously really wanted to go for the Exorcist thing, and they definitely went for it, and it's a pretty nasty film and pretty bleak as well. Yeah, nasty piece of work. Nos. I'm pretty sure you're talking about the super colourful Dawn of the Dead cover I showed you there, aren't you? When you say, oh my, I want that video cover. And Geigerpunk describes this as Dawn of the LSD Dead. LS Dead. It sort of works better when you read it that. I didn't do that justice. God bless you, Aaron, for telling Michael that his girlfriend Helen will not be disappointed by Ghoster. Michael also agrees, 100% agree that day is better than dawn. Yeah, it is. You know, in the real world as well, day is generally better than the dawn, isn't it? They never made Afternoon of the Dead, did they? Probably never sounded sort of quite menacing enough. Lee01 says, rock question. Were you around when the Wild Hearts smashed up the Kerrang office? I wish I was a fly on the wall for that. No, sadly, I wasn't in the office at the time. I was a freelancer. And back then, I would occasionally go and work in the office to like use their computer. But I think back by that point, I'd got my own like laptop at home, and so I was able to stay at home. Yeah, yeah. The Wild Hearts, the rock band, the Wild Hearts, got annoyed about a review or a news piece or something, and went in and smashed up the office. Poor old Malcolm Dome at his desk, bemused as the Wild Hearts storm in, grab his computer, and smash it. You know, that's a nice bit of rock and roll behavior. I mean, obviously, you know, you can't strictly condone it. I mean, they didn't hurt anybody. Obviously, they're not that kind of rock band. But you know, it's not exactly the exploits of black metal bands, is it? But yeah, it's a good old rock and roll story, that. Barry Pook says, have you ever counted your film collection? God, no. I think at one point I did make an attempt at having a book, like one of those sort of A to Z sort of file type books where you could go to A, B, C and sort of put the titles in. But I don't know. No, it'd be nice to do that, actually. I probably should do that. But I don't even know how to make a spreadsheet in Excel, to be honest. Ryan Tablet says, what was the first video you ever bought? And I think, I don't know if I still have it here, but I think it might have been, I don't know if I can see it to reach. Yeah, it's up there somewhere, but God knows where. Anyway, it was the Octagon, the Chuck Norris film. So Chuck Norris, I think it's like a ninja film, actually, definitely a kung fu film, the Octagon. I think I bought that, or maybe my folks bought it for me, for £8, I think it was. Maybe a fiver from the video shop. And it's a good film. I'm pretty sure the tape was kind of worn out, though, so it was there was a bit of interference on the screen, so you know, the white lines and stuff, which can make a film a bit hard to watch. But still, even then, the box was great. The box was gorgeous. It's like a lovely kind of golden box. I wish I had it to show you. Yeah, so that was the first one I ever had. So even though it wasn't the ideal way to watch a film, I was just excited to watch a film and to own a film. Gardenia 6 saw the skull on the cover of the Zero Boys. Excellent. Yeah, I'm gonna really devote some attention to that. Aaron says, who was your most memorable band/musician that you had the privilege of interviewing? Loved your interview with Peter Steele. I'll put another link up there in case anyone missed my interview that I uploaded from 1996 with Typo Negative frontman Peter Steele. Who was the most memorable band or musician that you had the privilege of interviewing? I think that it might have been Pantera in, I think it might be in the year 2000 or 2001 when I did this. It was yeah, we met in a beer garden in New Orleans, and yeah, Pantera were very they weren't happy with Kerrang at the time, and so they were very standoffish, and so I had to kind of try and win them round. Dimebag Darrell, the late Dimebag Darrell, very sadly, got me in a comedy headlock at one point. It was kind of, you know, kind of messing about. They weren't like properly hostile, or to use their own terminology, effing hostile. But what I did to win them around was I got them to hum some of their riffs, and then I had to tell them which songs they were from to kind of prove that I was, you know, not this kind of sensationalist journalist who wasn't into the band but was actually into them. And thank God they did like 3 riffs and I got all of them right. One of them was the riff to Slaughtered, I think. I can't remember what the other songs were. And then we got on better, and I did a really good interview with Phil Anselmo. I don't know why I had to reach to remember his name. And both of those interviews, I'm glad you've asked this, Aaron, because this is a nice segue to plug yet another book. But I've got this collection of rock interviews called From the Front Lines of Rock, and the link, believe it or not, is down there in the video description. Yeah, I've got about 30 of my rock interviews from the Kerrang years in this ebook. It's only available as an ebook, although if enough people ask for a physical version, a bit like this Jack Sparks t-shirt, I will make it available somehow. Yeah, but the Pantera, both Pantera interviews are in that book. Mark Patterson says, I don't remember that Video Network mag, but that yellowed newspaper makes me think of all my back issues of NME. Yeah, it's definitely one of those. It's definitely modeled on the broadsheet music mags, isn't it? Geigerpunk says the limited colors of that Texas Chainsaw cover. God, it's getting a bit of a mess down there. I don't know where anything is anymore. Hopefully, people watching this can remember what that Texas Chainsaw Massacre looked like. The limited colors makes me think of Saul Bass, which then makes me wonder if you've seen Phase 4. No, neither of those things ring a bell at all. Look, it's like this. You can't simply go around making up people and things like Phase 4 and then, expecting me to believe it. Ludicrous behavior. I absolutely love that Texas Chainsaw Massacre cover, says Floyd, and had a mini poster of it on my wall. I always wondered why it had never been used on any DVD or Blu-ray sell-through. Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? It's quite weird that some of the artwork from those days never came back. Maybe because the copyright details got lost in the mists of time, and no one wanted to risk reusing artwork for which an artist might pop up further down the line and say, "Oi, I made that," and then they might have to, God forbid, pay an artist. Imagine that. Now you're talking my language, Mr. Punk. He adds, and also chainsaws makes me wonder if you've seen the Linear Quigley classic Hollywood chainsaw hookers. Of course I have. Now you're talking my language, aren't you? I can't remember too much about it. One thing I do remember about Hollywood chainsaw hookers is that it came out during a time when the concept, when Texas Chainsaw Part 2 was banned entirely, I think, from video, which seems crazy now, even though it's a pretty nasty, gory film. That was banned from video, and there was like a general sensitivity from the British Board of Film Censorship about chainsaws. And I'm pretty sure, in fact, I'm positive that when Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers came out on VHS, that the word chainsaw was kind of removed from the title. But there was a chainsaw, a visual of a chainsaw between Hollywood and hookers. So a lot of people might have thought the title of the film, just when they pick it up in the video shop, they might have thought that it was called Hollywood Hookers. Maybe it was the distributor, who I think was called Colorbox. Maybe they had an argument with the BBFC, who told them to remove chainsaw, and then as a last-ditch attempt to save the title in some way, they said, well, can we put a picture of a chainsaw there instead of the word chainsaw? What ridiculous days those were. James Furman, the head of the BBFC back then, I think, and all those people were such a bunch of idiots. Catching up. John Ingham, thanks very much. Can't hang around, but want to say hi, Jason, and keep up the great work. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. If you're one of my 2,000 subscribers today, I really appreciate it. Thanks for stopping in. Mark Patterson says that Dawn of the Dead cover is more insanely saturated with color than a Power Rangers video. Yes, it really is. Gardenia 6 has to take an early leave. Hope all of you have a good night and weekend. Stay safe. Thank you, Gardenia 6. Now, Geigerpunk has never seen any of the Amityville's films. I mean, it's not as if that's outrageous. I mean, it's interesting, the Amityville films, isn't it? Because they don't really get spoken of as classics, do they? I think the Amityville horror is sort of relatively respected because it's quite, what's the word? The Amityville horror is quite restrained, certainly when compared to any of the sequels. The third film, by the way, was made in 3D, and I actually have it in 3D on DVD with 3D glasses. I really should watch that. I wonder how good those 3D glasses are. Not like 3D in the sense that Blu-ray is now, by the way, with a 3D Blu-ray player. It's just probably some kind of inferior 3D, but fun nevertheless. I once went to the cinema to see cinema in Lowestoft to see, I think, Friday the 13th Part 4 in 3D. No, of course it wasn't. It was Part 3 in 3D. Yeah, I once saw Part 3 in 3D at the cinema, and that was amazing. Nice little observation from Mad Phantom Max. New films, this is video shops, new films would be at the front of the video shop, showing the pictures on the front, whereas old stock could be at the back of the store, often showing only the spine. Yeah, the passage of like a movie as it made its way through the video store shelves, from being proudly displayed at the front and then stuck together at the back. Hello, Victor Campbell, you've just joined us. Ray Zell has piped up about the Wild Hearts trashing the Kerrang office story, and Ray remembers. He says, "I remember K editor Jeff Barton saying, 'How come the Wild Hearts don't come in and decorate when we give them a good review?'" Yeah, I think that's reasonable, isn't it? Oh, hold on, got to catch up here. Right, catching up. George, hello, George. Amityville 2 is one of those twos that I saw before the ones. Same with Halloween, saw 2 before 1 with that. That's interesting. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's not as if Amityville 2 is a direct sequel to Part 1. In fact, I seem to remember it's some kind of prequel, is it? In a way? Oh, Geigerpunk has a memory of his video shop. After a while, our video shop, flattened all the covers and put them in plastic sheets that you'd flip through like records, as they could fit more tapes on display in a small store, but was a shame. Yeah, I suppose that relates to what I was saying earlier, doesn't it? You know, it must have been frustrating for video stores that they couldn't really scale up through issues of space. And so you could see why they would do something like that, but that must have, yeah, the video shop must have lost a special something. Mad Phantom Max remembers different coloured price stickers meant some rentals were very cheap. Brilliant. I've seen the same system in a motor accessory store. It worked well and kept the shop sensible. Geigerpunk says, how about blood-sucking pharaohs in Pittsburgh? That's not as good as Hollywood hookers. No. I mean, it's a good title. I don't think I've ever seen that. Wonder what it's about. Yeah, good point from Bogeyman Productions, Michael. It's fantastic to see the legendary poster cover artist Graham Humphrey still doing stuff. A lot of it for Arrow. Yeah, let's just because Graham Humphreys, of course, is the guy who designed. Well, he's done a lot of Evil Dead stuff, but he created the original Evil Dead cover. Look at this. I mean, you know, as I was saying, this is one of my favorites. Look at the quality of that. In case you're wondering why it's in a red box, it's because this is a Betamax version. Look at that for a little cutie. Let's not worry too much about the fact that I don't have a Betamax player and so can't actually play it. Let's not dwell on that. That would make me sound like some kind of madman. And furthermore, I also don't have a Video 2000 player. I don't have a Philips Video 2000 player, which would be required to play this tape. Yeah, that's like the third video format. It's like the also ran format. If you thought the Betamax ended up unlucky, then the Philips V2000 was also unlucky. One weird thing about this is that, as you can see, it's got like two windows, and I'm pretty sure you can kind of put it in a bit like a vinyl record in some respects. You can put it into the machine one way and then the other way, I think. Am I right? Can anyone correct me on that? I don't know. That's what I've gathered. Random Evil Dead tape for you. French. La Nuit des Démons. See, I can speak French. Incredible. Yeah, but yeah, to go back to your point, Michael, it is great to see that Graham Humphreys is still doing stuff. Yeah, lots of great Arrow stuff. He seems to be a really nice guy as well, Graham. Very accessible to fans. Aaron says, I envy you, Jason, to meet Pantera and all the other legends you interviewed. Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate in my life. It's been I've had a lot of good experiences, yeah, in the rock department. Aaron also says, I will be reading From the Front Lines of Rock, and a paper copy wouldn't go amiss if you release one. Just to remind people, my collection of rock interviews, there's a link down there in the video description if you want to pick up on ebook and read a load of stuff that I did, people I spoke to. There's lots of bands in there like Iron Maiden, Korn, Nine Inch Nails, Limp Bizkit, Kiss, and Man of War. There's a Man of War interview in there as well. If that doesn't sell you, then nothing will. Lee says, Lee remembers the video store owner used to save me the posters. I wish I kept them now. Yeah, Nos says to Geigerpunk, focus on Amityville 1, 2, and 3. The rest went stupid and not in a good way. True. Yeah, a few of the titles I can remember are the Amityville Curse and the Amityville Dollhouse. Yeah, it's not quite in the same scary league as Amityville 2. I mean, I think the first two films, I can't remember much about the third one, but the first two films were pretty scary. Floyd says, I have the Amityville Horror 3D novelization, but it's a complete disappointment because the words aren't in 3D. Nice work, Floyd. Are they not? That's outrageous. Why do the words not dance in front of your eyeballs? Ryan Tablet says, do you own any laser discs? I do. Where are they? Yeah, I've got a few. I just picked up a couple at random. There probably would have been some more exciting horror type stuff there if I'd persevered, but I don't want to step away from my desk for too long. I mean, I don't have a Laserdisc player, so at some point I've picked some of these up. And also my very cool cousin Kevin, I'm pretty sure he gave me some Laserdiscs at some point, which I've still got over there. I do love, I love vinyl, so what's not to love about packaging like this? I thought that was a gatefold there for a moment, but yeah, I mean, they're lovely things, aren't they? They're great. I thought that was going to fold out there for a moment, but no. Yeah, I do have, so to answer your question, I do have a few laser discs, but I don't have a player, so it is a bit ludicrous. Maybe one day I'll get, I don't know, can you get laser disc players cheap now, or have they had a resurgence and they're really expensive? I don't know. Yeah, Nos picks up on, I was asking earlier whether Amityville 2 is a prequel or not, and he says it is a prequel, tells the story of the DeFeos, who had the place before the Lutz family. Yeah. Bogeyman Productions, Michael, I'm shocked you don't have the V2000 tape. I remember we talked about that before. I am quite shocked about that because you have everything. But isn't it nice to still be on the sort of the hunt for stuff? Would you be, if you ever get like every Evil Dead item in the world, would you be a bit gutted because then the sort of the hunt is over and you've finally got it all? Part of collecting is the hunt, isn't it? Aaron says, talking of artwork, do you like Basil Gogos? Have you made this name up? No, it's Basil Gogos, who also did the album artwork for Rob Zombie's Hellbilly Deluxe. I do like the cover of Hellbilly Deluxe, and I really like Hellbilly Deluxe. I like Rob Zombie's sort of, first couple of albums, Hellbilly Deluxe, and I think there might be a Rob Zombie interview in Front Lines of Rock. Yeah, I'm sure there is. Yeah, I used to love interviewing Rob. Mad Phantomax says video vans were weird because all the tapes were side on, or they would have fallen off, and you had to duck down to get up in. They were really about talking to the fellow with what you wanted. So yeah, so maybe they'd be more about telling you what you wanted, and he'd sort of look in his big box of. See, the guy who came to us had a car, as I said, with a boot, and so he wouldn't have room for all that much. And I remember they would all be facing up. I don't think he had that much stuff. He's probably just a guy who had a regular job, and then in his sort of spare hours, he'd drive around town, renting things out to people and returning things. Razel says, I think you should get a glove puppet for your left hand to keep us entertained while you pause to read the questions. You know, that's not the worst idea in the world, is it? Watch this space for the next one. Yeah, Ryan Tablet agrees. The hunt is the best part of collecting. Now, I'm just going to look through the videos I had prepared because I don't want to not show you any of these tapes that I got ready to show you. I don't know if I've got many left, actually. I think we are probably approaching the end of this live stream. Mainly, to be honest, because my voice is starting to go. I don't know if you've noticed. And also, I'm dismayed by my own failure to provide glove puppet entertainment with my other hand. Oh, that's a nice wine there. I do recommend this wine. As I said, this live stream is not being sponsored by Blossom Hill, but I really recommend this soft and fruity Blossom Hill wine. I like wine that's quite nice and easy to drink, and as literally as the label says, is kind of soft and fruity, and so this fits the bill very nicely. Mad Phantom Max says he is catching up with the comments, lads. Stay on topic. We can still win this. Yeah, I'm caught up with comments now. Unbelievable. Right, let me show you. Let me show you the other videos that you haven't seen yet that I selected. Yes. See, there's another classic 80s cover, isn't it? Blast Fighter with Michael Sopku, who is the star of one of my favorite films, 2019, After the Fall of New York, which is another Italian post-apocalyptic rip-off movie which rips off Escape from New York and what's the other film it rips off? I'm trying to think. And I can't remember. Anyway, Blast Fighter is your simple vengeance movie, and this is the type of cover. Anyone remember this from video shops? This is the type of cover that just was crying out to be rented. It's another Medusa tape on Medusa Video. As you'll see here, you can see the Medusa. Who remembers Medusa Video? Can anyone remember any video labels from the video shops, as in like video companies? And were there any kind of reliable brand names that you came to rely on and you'd see? Like, I'd see stuff on Medusa. And even though Medusa didn't always have the most amazing films in the world, they were kind of consistent in terms of the content, and you knew you were going to get quite a liberal dose of violence and whatnot. Yeah, that is brilliant artwork. I hope they paid their artists well, Medusa, because I'm sure these artists really kind of, really sold so many rentals back in the day. Now then, Chuck Norris fans. I hope there are some Chuck Norris fans out there who actually likes Chuck Norris films. It's not just me, is it? It wasn't just me in the 80s renting all these out. Missing in Action and Missing in Action 2. I like these covers because they really look like they're kind of they really look like sequels, don't they? I mean, if you kind of blur if you squint a bit, you can kind of mistake one for the other, in fact. And of course, Missing in Action is a prequel to this one. Yeah, this is him in a prison camp in Vietnam, I guess, and this is him coming back and doing all kinds of all kinds of things. Even the backs look very similar, don't they? But yeah, I didn't like these as much as Invasion USA. I think because these were kind of slightly more reality based, Vietnam, etc. Whereas Invasion USA was a completely outlandish story about people invading America in boats. Now, where's the? I showed you a tape when we started, didn't I? And I've never shown you it since. It was Demons. Oh yeah, the final two tapes I'm going to show you are two horror doozies, and I think you'll like these. Let me just see. Let me catch up on any comments here. Oh blimey, you've had you people are comment maniacs. I love it. I love it. Mark Patterson, in reference to Razel's glove puppet suggestion, he says, make sure the puppet is one of those terrifying wooden ones like in the Anthony Hopkins film, of which the name escapes me. Magic. It's magic. I have that on video somewhere. It's over there somewhere. Yeah, Anthony Hopkins with a creepy ventriloquist dummy. Lee says, what was it like interviewing Maiden and Trent Reznor? And did you ever get the chance to meet Mike Patton? I loved interviewing Maiden. They're all very easy to interview. And I once did a tricky interview on the Fear of the Dark tour after Bruce Dickinson, the singer, had announced that he was going to leave the band. And so there was a lot of tension in the band. And I really tried to get to the bottom of that, including getting Nico McBrain drunk and telling me what he really thought of Bruce. So that was quite an interview. That's in From the Front Lines of Rock, the collection of rock interviews. I really liked interviewing Trent Reznor. He was, you kind of expected him, you might expect Trent Reznor to be very serious and kind of like a Prince of Darkness, especially back then, because he was kind of an enigmatic character and he wasn't such an open book as he is today. But I'm pretty sure I interviewed him on the phone first and then in person, or I'm not sure. But anyway, I interviewed him. When I interviewed him in person, he was just very likable, kind of self-deprecating and very funny, kind of dryly funny as well. And yeah, I did meet Mike Patton at least a couple of times. I went to, and this again is in the Front Lines of Rock book, link in the description. Sorry, that is the last time I'm going to say that. And this is also the last time I'm going to say that Ghost of There is 99p on Kindle. Yeah, I went to Poland to interview Faith No More and interviewed all the band members separately and kind of put them together in a Q&A, I think. Yeah, I really enjoyed doing that. It was fun interviewing them all separately. Yeah, they were all very likable as well. Mike Patton was fine. Yeah, he was an interesting interviewee because, you know, Mike Patton's he's an intelligent guy, isn't he? There's an intelligence there and a kind of enigmatic quality. Yeah, good fun. Ryan asks if I ever met Axl Rose. No, Axl and Courtney Love are two of the few sort of rock stars I never interviewed. I did interview Slash though, and I interviewed him as well in the classic rock style, which was interviewing him by a swimming pool in a Hollywood hotel. I think that's like everyone is contractually obliged to interview Slash in that way, and he was great. He was really likable, Slash as well. Again, that interview is in the book that I said I wouldn't mention again. Catching up. Floyd says, my local video shop used to brag on a small ad which appeared on the front page in the local advertiser newspaper as having the largest video library in the Midlands. Wow. And Floyd, did it actually seem to have the could you believe it? Was it, how many tapes would you estimate that it had? Bogeyman Productions, Michael recommends, he remembers Vipco. I was asking about video labels and whether any of the branding kind of caught on in people's heads. Vipco was one of the best back in the day. Yeah, Vipco, they were good. They put out so many horror films, so many good ones too. They put out The Driller Killer, but it got them in trouble. They put out The Bogeyman, which I like. I'm a big fan of that Uli Lommel film. Yeah. And Intervision, and of course Palace. Yeah, Palace brought out The Evil Dead and The Evil Dead 2. Geiger Punk says Blast Fighter. Have I still got it here to remind you which one I'm talking about? I have no idea where it's gone. Oh no, there it is. Yeah, Geiger Punk says Blast Fighter looks like it would have been a great budget game knockoff of Commando. Yeah, very much so. It's very much that kind of thing. Look at the drama of it though. The lightning really sets that off, doesn't it? And of course the pose, the manly pose atop a mountain by the looks of it. Yeah, Barry Pook has joined me in admitting to liking Chuck Norris. He says Chuck Norris was part of my rental staple. Good on you, Barry. Love a bit of 80s Chuck. Oh, Alid Lewis. Hello, Alid. Alid says, it's nice to see covers in color because my local video shop photocopied this. Oh, God, that's cheap, isn't it? I wonder why they did that. Why wouldn't they have the covers? Maybe people kept nicking them or something? Catching up, scrolling. Mark Patterson admits to being a huge Chuck Norris fan in the 80s. Come on, everyone out of the Chuck closet. Stop hiding. Simon Mallison says, yes, watched a lot of Chuck, though Bruce did beat him up, lol. That's a reference to Bruce Lee, isn't it? And I can't remember which film Chuck was in. Isn't there a bit in the UK Office in which the bloke who played Garth, Matthew Holness, his character, is talking about that? Which film? Was it Enter the Dragon or something? I don't know. Way of the Dragon. Anyway. Floyd has come up with a nice bit of Chuck Norris trivia. I like this. Bizarrely, Missing in Action 2 was the first film to be made, but they made the next film in the Missing in Action series as the first film, confusingly. Yeah. I wonder why they did that. Maybe they sort of thought that what became Missing in Action was actually a better film. I don't know. I'm not sure if it is, though. I need to revisit Missing in Action. There's also Missing in Action 3, which I've never seen, and I've never seen Delta Force 2. Can anyone recommend either Delta Force 2 or Missing in Action 3? Mad Phantom Max says, I would just like to add that I like the Channel 5 label. I keep them all polished and clean in their original boxes. I have captured them and watched them back to back on me Mobi. Yeah, Channel 5 was one of the biggest sell-through labels, what we call the sell-through. It was kind of one of the first labels to sell stuff in like Woolworths, kind of in small boxes, certificate era. And yeah, I've got a soft spot for Channel 5 stuff too. Geiger Punk has an important Iron Maiden question. He says, have you touched Nico's nose? Is it as flat in real life as it appears on film? I haven't touched Nico's nose, although after I came back from after that Iron Maiden feature I mentioned was published, in which I got him drunk and he was talking about how he really felt about Bruce, I went to an Iron Maiden party and Nico grabbed me by the shirt and pushed me up against a wall. Thankfully, he then laughed because he was fine with it. It was just a bit of mock sort of wrestling, really, to say, "Oh, you naughty boy, you got me talking about Bruce, didn't you?" But I remember looking over Nico's shoulder to see Steve Harris standing there laughing in a non-alarmed kind of way. So it was fine. It was one of those kind of things where I don't know. I suppose as a journalist, I kind of got out of the band or out of Nico kind of how the band really felt about Bruce and at that point, and they were okay with that because for a band like Iron Maiden and someone like Steve Harris, it was kind of almost impossible for Bruce Dickinson to say, right, I want to leave Iron Maiden, and Steve and the rest of the band to not be hurt and fecked off about that. Geigerpunk says, do you have any trauma films in your collection, Jason? I do. And as I speak, I'm wondering where they are. I've got a lovely big box of the Toxic Avenger that's kind of got some videos back in the day in rental stores, and they must have mostly got smashed. So I'm lucky that I've got some that are okay. But yeah, Toxic Avenger was like a sort of a 3D sort of molded plastic cover that comes out like sort of I don't know, it's almost like those kind of Play-Doh things. Remember when you had Play-Doh? You made pictures out of them, but plastic. That's probably the least effective description of anything ever. And I'm supposed to be a writer. Yeah. I like trauma films. I like the Toxic Avenger. I've got Redneck Zombies somewhere. The Class of Newcomb High I've got somewhere. Mohawk 2 says, do you have the VHS Doctor Who Trial of a Time Lord in limited edition TARDIS tin? That is a very good question, and I'll tell you why. Because I believe I have it, but I have no idea where it is. And that's quite odd. I don't know why. I might have sold it, actually. Remember that Doctor Who VHS video I did where I said that I sold a load of my old collection? Maybe I sold it. I'm not sure if I'm in a big hurry to get it back. Not because of, I don't mind the Trial of a Time Lord series. There's some good stuff in it, but I don't know if I need that tin, really. It's okay, but yeah. Bogeyman Productions says, have you ever seen the documentary about Tom Sullivan, the Evil Dead effects guy, called Invaluable? No, I haven't. I remember seeing about that, but I never got to see it. Is it good? Geigerpunk says, aside from the cameo in Dodgeball, I don't think I've seen any Chuck Norris films either. I'm just going to flip my whole desk over in rage. Unreasonably. Alan Lewis says, Medusa Touch with Richard Burton is the scariest film I've ever seen. I do remember seeing the Medusa Touch when I was a kid. It was kind of about, he's got like telekinetic powers, isn't he? And my webcam's gone blurry again. There we go. As someone said earlier, the webcam's been on the wine as well. Hey, Lee's come out of the Chuck closet. Chuck was cool. I had the Missing in Action poster on my wall back in the day. Nice. Mark Patterson says, Mark Patterson confirms that Way of the Dragon was the Chuck Bruce movie. Aaron says, Lords of Chaos, what's your thoughts on the film? This gives me another opportunity to plug another video on this channel, because in a video, which I'll put a card up for there someday, I talk about how I hated my cameo role in Lords of Chaos. But apart from my cameo role in Lords of Chaos as myself, I like the film a lot. I think it's really good. Yeah, I think it's very good. I think Jonas Ackland was always going to do, a very sincere kind of and passionate job with that movie. He spent years trying to make that happen. And I like it. Yeah, it's nasty, and it's, I think Rory Culkin's really good in it. Yeah, it's good. It's uncompromising. Obviously the story behind the whole thing is just really sad and tragic, but the film is strong, I think. Lee says, I remember that Nico McBrain interview. It had a picture of Bruce with his head in his hands. Yeah, that sounds familiar. JLB Zombie says, did you watch the Ash versus Evil Dead series? And if so, what did you think of it? Yeah. Weirdly, I haven't seen season 3. I think because they stopped making them, I've kind of saved season 3 for a rainy day as like a treat. I kind of have a habit of, I might have said before on this channel that I have a habit of doing that, and it's not great. But I mean, not Ash versus Evil Dead. I mean, my habit of saving things for a rainy day and then never getting around to watching them. But the first 2 series I really liked. I mean, when the first series came along, I was just in absolute heaven. I couldn't believe that this series existed. I never expected that to happen. And I think the first series was especially strong. There was lots of great stuff in series 2, don't get me wrong, but I think when yeah, when the series landed, it was great. I thought the pilot was great. One thing I really appreciated was that they seemed to make a real effort to keep, because the first three Evil Dead films are all so distinct and very different. The first film has comedy, but it's also a really scary, gory experience. But it's a horror comedy rather than a comedy horror, if you know what I mean. Whereas Evil Dead 2 is a comedy horror, I would say, even though it's got lots of jumps and some gore. And then Army of Darkness is kind of a comedy, really, isn't it? With sort of like a vague undertone of horror. I mean, I like it. You know, it's an Evil Dead film, so I like it. It's not the third Evil Dead film I would have liked, but at least it's different. You can't fault them for that. But my point was about Ash versus Evil Dead is that the makers of it obviously wanted to keep all of the Evil Dead tribes happy. The people whose favorite Evil Dead film is the first one and the second one, and also, sorry, moth action going on up there, and Army of Darkness. So I like the fact the pilot had stuff that, you know, kind of tonally had managed to weave all this stuff together from the whole Evil Dead world. So I really liked it, and it's got Bruce Campbell in it. You know, what is not to like? Actually, I'm not sure that I do prefer series 1 to 2, because now I'm thinking back to series 2, and there's some mad stuff in that. It kind of, series 2 felt like the show was really letting loose and going crazy, and it's very funny. Yeah, so as you can gather, I liked it a lot. Floyd says, what's the last horror film you watched, and what film are you planning to watch or rewatch? God, I haven't watched many horror films for a while, and I'm not even well, I think recently I haven't really been particularly in the mood for horror films or anything particularly stressful, because life has been quite stressful. I know that, you know, I totally believe in horror as a cathartic force and an outlet and all the rest of it, but I haven't really felt like watching it. But nevertheless, what was the last horror film I saw? Oh my God. You know, I actually can't remember, which is quite weird, isn't it? I've been watching a lot of YouTube lately. I haven't really been turning on Netflix. But one of the more fun horror films I saw sort of in the last year or two was I think it's called The Babysitter on Netflix. That was a really good horror comedy in that order. Really strong horror, really gory, but also comedy and also, you know, a proper story. That's really good. I think that's a Netflix original. Also love the Creep movies. The two, and when I say the Creep movies, I mean, sorry, I thought Ghost had fallen over there. 99p on Kindle. I thought the Creep movies were great. The found footage movies, these are. There's two of them. Creep is not to be confused with the Creep from yesteryear, well, the 90s or something like that, or the early 2000s, which was set in the London Underground. Yeah. What film are you planning to watch or rewatch? Wow, these are good questions. I think did I say earlier that I'm planning to revisit something? Oh God, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I should get back into watching horror. I mean, it's, you know, it's one of my loves, but I think it's just one of these things where, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really planning to watch or rewatch anything, but I think it is time to watch a bit of Lucio Fulci and revisit City of the Living Dead, aka Gates of Hell, and the Beyond. Yeah, maybe I prefer at the moment to watch horror that I kind of know and love, rather than kind of watch new horror that's gonna put me through some kind of emotional ringer or something. I don't really feel like that at the moment. I'd probably rather watch YouTube videos or comedy, or that's probably actually why I haven't watched one of my favorite shows on Netflix, whose name I suddenly can't remember, Ozark. I haven't watched that yet. I haven't watched season 3. I mean, I love the first 2 series, but I haven't watched season 3 of that. And possibly because it's just really tense. Maybe my brain doesn't want tension at the moment. There's enough tension in the world. Great questions, though. Thanks, Floyd. Next time I'll remember that question, or ask me again, and I'll probably have a better answer for it. I'll think about that between now and then. JLB seen The Babysitter, and I thought it was really good. Yeah. Mad Phantom Max asks me, do you have any video shop memories? Well, I guess I've kind of been peppering those throughout this 3.5 hours we're heading towards. It's almost a pub kick. It is pub kicking out time, and I think this would be a good time a suitable time to wind up this live stream, wouldn't it? And I'll show you a couple of videos before we go, and they're good ones. Yeah, I've kind of peppered those memories throughout. I mean, my main memories are loving the films we rented. We would sometimes rent 4 or 5 movies at a time and just watch them one after the other. What a cool family. And we were watching like violent kind of vigilante movies and ninja films, not so much horror films generally, but kind of lots of action, which probably explains my sort of love of action. And one thing I do remember, one last thing I'll note, remembering, is that I would write in a notepad or a diary that I've still got. I'd give each film marks out of 10. And I should probably dig that out, actually. That could be a video in itself, couldn't it? Right. It's pub kicking out time. So let me show you the first film that I flashed you in this video, this live stream rather. Demons. Love this film. Lamberto Bava. Produced by Dario Argento. And it's a nasty piece of work. This video, sadly, is cut. This first edition was cut. For some reason, the British Board of Film Censors took exception to Demons pulling out a blind man's eyeballs. I can't believe that. I mean, I must admit, that's pretty extreme, even by today's standards, isn't it? Look at that. I love Demons. It's one of my favourite horror films, really. It's great. And now, you'll like this. Not only because it's a classic horror film in many people's minds, but because it's got a rental price sticker on the front of it. I think it's the first... Excuse me, voice is going. Definitely time to wind up. But this is the first video I've shown you in this whole live stream that has a rental price sticker on the front. Behold. Reanimator, £1.50 per night. A real throat grabber, said the Los Angeles Times. How about that, eh? Very nice indeed. Geigerpunk says, what's wrong with pulling out a blind man's eyeballs? It's not like he's using them. Well, what a lovely note to end on, eh? What a lovely note. It's true, though. I mean, logically, that is true. I don't know what the bloke was complaining about and screaming for. There we go. Yeah, I think we like Reanimator, don't we? Most horror fans tend to like Reanimator. I probably don't like it as much as most people do. I like it, obviously. I mean, it's a great film, and it's a really good example of a film that blends horror and comedy pretty well. But whether I wouldn't say it's not in my top 10 horror films, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not in most people's top 10 horror films, but they just like it. I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's time for us to lock up this video shop, and don't forget to put any videos you've rented tonight from the shop back in the post box outside the building on your way home. And if you'd like to join my Patreon and support this channel by making a monthly pledge, because you inexplicably have disposable cash during this whole era, then the link is down there. Ghoster, my novel, is 99p on Kindle. And just lastly, plugs aside, I'd like to thank you all for coming along and being such a brilliant, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like I'm sort of talking to an audience. It just feels like a group of people talking about video shops and Doctor Who and retro games and things like that. And, just like last Friday, this has been a huge amount of fun for me, and I really hope it has for you. Hopefully it has, because, a lot of you are still here. Marvelous. And I'm definitely going to do this again. Thank you so much, folks. Have an amazing weekend. And until I see you again, whether it's in a regular video or in another live stream, don't forget to embrace your obsession. Good night. Cheers, folks. You rock. Good night. Yes.